What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Thursday night live stream here on Drums and Drams. We are back at it at the regular time, although it's like 9:07 right now, so not quite the regular time. We're like 7 minutes late, but that's okay. I think the last live stream that we did was the 10,000 subscriber celebration, which I believe was a Saturday stream. So I guess it's been like 12 days since we've live streamed. But as you can tell here on the channel, I am live streaming a little less frequently just to give my body a break. I am getting over being sick right now. My palate is good to go, ready to go. Today I've kind of tested it and made sure I'm able to like still smell and taste and talk about whiskey. So we're all good. But just getting over being sick and trying to limit consumption with all the barrel picks and stuff like that we're doing these days. Things are going to start slowing down with barrel picks, kind of find a rhythm now that we've been racing to the end of 2024. Everything's set. All the drops are set and ready to go. I think we're pretty much on schedule to hit all of those goals, which is great. And then we'll get into 2025 and things will find a little bit more of a consistent rhythm, let's say, as we get into it. Basically dropping 1 to 2 barrels per month is kind of the goal so that we don't oversaturate things. So anyways, let me know what you guys have in your glass. I saw people taking bets on when the stream would start, if it'd be 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes late. 7 minutes, 34 seconds, I think I saw. But yeah, as far as barrel picks go, I've been running all over the place, doing more than I even need to, like taking really cool trips. But at the end of the day, they're trips that I don't always need to go on. Let's put it that way. And so I'm going to start minimizing some of that too. And it's probably why I'm sick, because I haven't really slept very much in a couple of weeks or maybe even a couple of months at this point. Yeah, Joe, exactly. Joe is giving me some crap here in the chat. But hey, listen, we've got some great pours tonight. And we'll do a couple of blind pours. We're not going to do like a full blind flight or anything like that. Originally, we were planning to, but the blind flight that was coming for tonight's stream from Matt Porter, actually, ADHD Whiskey, was delayed. It's going to get here tomorrow, I believe. And tomorrow night, I'm going to be on his live stream. It's a little double dose, back-to-back nights. It's kind of a good thing, though, because we've got a couple of whiskeys, more than a couple to go through here on this stream. So I want to make sure that I can get through all of these and, not do a 3-hour stream, but we'll see. We'll see if we can make that happen. Okay. By the way, a new bottle has arrived, and we are doing a giveaway tonight. So let me real quick say something to those folks waiting on giveaway and short barrel things, Driftless Glen short barrel samples, which that's a Patreon thing. But for the giveaway winners that are waiting on giveaway prizes from me, everything is being packed right now. You should see my basement. It's absolutely hilarious. I've got like 85 little sample bottles strewn out. Everything's getting packed. About, I would say 30 to 40 boxes are going to go out tomorrow, which sounds like a lot. And yes, it is a lot. I'm a little in over my head as far as packing boxes goes. So I apologize, but tonight's giveaway is going to go out tomorrow. It's going to go out with other things that go out tomorrow. So for those of you guys who enter tonight's giveaway, just know that your stuff is going to go out tomorrow. So tonight's giveaway, what we're going to be doing is I've got 2 unopened bottles of this. This is the 2024 Drums and Drams limited edition. So I'm starting this limited edition series for our barrel picks. We're going to do 1 or 2 of these a year, and we're going to be calling them Opus, right? So if, like, it's a music thing, right? Opus One, Opus Two, Opus Three. It's going to be kind of our cataloging system for these barrel picks. And so this one, if you guys zoom in and kind of see what we've got here, this is a 10-year double-oaked bourbon from River Roots. Beautiful colors between the wax and the design, all that stuff. It really worked out well. But it's 130.8 proof. It's 10 years from a Kentucky distillery. It's a bourbon in Bardstown, Kentucky. I can't tell you where, but this turkey is standing on some hills. So I wonder what that could mean. And there's like the heavens are opening up behind him. But it was finished in a wild turkey barrel. So this Bardstown-based Kentucky bourbon was then finished in a rejuvenated wild turkey barrel for an extra year. So it's kind of double oaked. I mean, it is, but it's a very light double oaking. And the profile, to me, is amazing. So I'm going to taste this on tonight's stream. 130 proof. Again, it's a $185 bottle, so I'm going to give away 2 of these tonight, and each person that wins one of these is going to also win a 1-ounce sample of the brand new 2024 13th Colony Double Oaked. All right, so I've got one of these I'm going to be reviewing tonight. Didn't expect this to show up today, but it's here, so that's also going to be reviewed tonight. So that's the giveaway. So let's get into some pours now. Let me re-warm my palate back up. I've had a little bit of alcohol already today. Let me warm up with some MGP at 114 proof, okay? All right, so hit that like button if you haven't already, please. And let me very quickly get up my barrel pick tracker here, because I actually don't have that up on the screen. So give me just a second, guys. So I've been at River Roots today. So speak of the devil, talking about this limited edition that we've got here, which is gonna, for Patreon guys, this is gonna drop November 8th. If anybody in Patreon wins this bottle in the giveaway tonight, you can still purchase one more. It's going to be limit 1 on the 8th. You can still purchase another one of these on the 8th. It's not going to preclude you from doing that, just to let you know. So it's a good opportunity to get one of these, maybe get a backup of these if you're in the Patreon, or, you know, if you're not in the Patreon, a chance to get this, because this is not going to be out of the Patreon. This is going to sell out in the Patreon in the upper 3 tiers, I would imagine. But yeah, anyways, I've been at River Roots today. I was tasting through some barrel samples up there of stuff that they're thinking about purchasing. Kind of inconclusive on that, but it was a good experience to go through these 5 different barrel samples from a broker, and then had a chance to mess around with a couple of blends up there. Just, you know, we don't need to talk about it any further than that, but a couple of blends, just some playful stuff, and then popped open the picks that we've got coming in January. So the 15-year and the 16-year picks. The 15's already been open up there, but the 16-year barrels were just delivered, and I've got one of those. So we've got a 16-year Kentucky bourbon, that kind of stuff that's floating around out there with that 75, 13, 12 mash bill. So I was able to pop that barrel open, and I've got a sample of it with me. So I'm very excited about that. And then also I went up there and picked up some of these Opus One bottles. Hey, Ben, yeah, man, we're going to talk about the Hard Truth here in just a bit. We'll get a few more people in the live stream, but the link to the Hard Truth is in the description of the video. We've got about 30-ish bottles of that left, I think, at this point, and 65 a piece, but we'll talk about that. I'll taste it for all you guys. I still have my sample of the Hard Truth pick that we did. And yeah, I knew it was going to be slept on, but I think some folks on this, after we talk about it on this live stream, maybe a few more folks will want to pick those up. So anyways, guys, cheers. Little MGP in the glass for me. This is actually the upcoming Evernorth pick that we have. 7-year MGP, finished in a Wild Turkey 12-year barrel. Also dropping November 8th. 114 proof, 21% rye bourbon. Cheers. All right. Super crushable. Super, super crushable. All right, Mr. Parker, thank you for the super chat, man. Let me get you in here for 2 entries. It says, Cam, great to have you back. Thank you, man. Mark, no, unfortunately, I'm not coming up to Evernorth next week. I've got a concert that day. But thank you for the super chat, man. Yeah, I wish I could go up to the Junkies for that release, but we've got a Friday. I think it's a Friday that they're doing it. We've got a Friday and Saturday show. There's just no way I could make it. But I did smell. I haven't tasted the Bourbon Junkies Limited, but I have smelled it out of the vat, and it smelled very good. But I have not tasted it yet. Daniel, out of curiosity, what makes a whiskey worthy of being in the Opus LE series? I think for me, I actually don't think it needs to be price. I think sometimes we might find something that's not $185 to go in the series. To me, it's just got to be. It's got to taste special. And I also want it to kind of be, like, in an ideal world, it would be a little bit off the wall. Like the mash bill for the Opus One that we've got, the mash bill is 75, 15, 10, and it's a non-traditional mash bill for the person that actually creates this base bourbon. So it's a little bit off the wall, and the fact that it came from a reconditioned turkey barrel, Char 1, like all of these are pretty unique factors. And then you drink it, and it's like, okay, that's a special whiskey, at least for me. I hope everybody else thinks the same, or else I'm going to feel bad about the price point. But everybody that's tried this barrel has said the same thing. So to me, it's like that kind of combination of factors. I think there is a little allure to the fact that it's $185 a bottle, but that's not my decision. If I could make that cheaper, I would make that cheaper. It's just that the barrels were pretty freaking expensive. So I get it, but I think everything kind of lines up for that bottle to end up being an LE, I would say. And it makes sense that our first one is going to come from River Roots, again, who's just been, so supportive and everything. Rich says, I'm going to win tonight and I'll be okay with spring for delivery. That's funny. Casket Salesman, been hearing good things about that Safi. Yeah, so let's talk about what we're going to be tasting tonight, guys. Already 12 minutes of nothing happening, right? So just looking at the thumbnail in front of me, we're going to taste the Booker's Reserves. I thought I would already have a review video out for this, but then I got sick, so I couldn't get one out. So instead of waiting on that, I will taste it tonight. Still probably make a video for this and the Little Book and the Jim Beam 20, but we'll taste the Booker's Reserves. We'll taste the 13th Colony Double Oaked. I have a sample, actually, of the William Heaven Hill 13 year. You can see that in the thumbnail. It's like the purple label, kind of a dark blue or purplish label. It's a 13-year bottled and bond William Heaven Hill. So there's been a 15-year recently. There's been a 17-year most recently, and now this 13 bottled and bond. I'm going to do a blind flight tonight of the Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs from 2024, see which one my favorite is. We're going to taste these two Safi bottles, which I'm sure many of you don't know about because these haven't really been advertised very much. So we'll talk about what they are, at least what I know about them, sort of. Give you the stats, give you flavor profiles and all that. These are very expensive whiskeys. So I wanted to kind of bite the bullet. I paid for these myself. These were not sent. And let you know if it's worth the coin. And then finally, in the thumbnail, last one is going to be, of course, the Opus One. So there you go. That is what we're doing tonight. John Martino, thank you for the super chat. Says, enjoy your videos, man. Appreciate you. Thanks, John. Appreciate the super chat, man. And thanks for being here tonight. And Tony Bag of Donuts. All right, Tony. Tony B, in for 4, says, send that bottle my way with the Driftless sample. Cheers. Cheers, man. Okay, I'm going to keep scrolling down here. Mary says, I ordered your Hard Truth pick the other day. Can't wait. I can't wait to hear what people think of it. I hope they like it. At $65, I think the value's off the charts, especially for the flavor profile. I think it's a great profile. David says, those 15 years are popping up everywhere now, it seems. Yeah, so the mystery, everyone's calling it turkey. It's not actually turkey. It's sort of turkey. I mean, you guys have probably heard about it. There's articles out now talking about the Buffalo Trace and Wild Turkey crossover. And nothing is like officially confirmed about whose yeast and whose grains and all this stuff. All this speculation. But the moral of the story is it's a crossover type thing. And I think I feel comfortable saying that now because everybody knows about it. But yeah, there are hundreds and hundreds of barrels of this stuff, and most of them are not very good. Like, you have to really go through them to find great barrels of it, and I think that's what's been so nice about River Roots, like being able to go down with them to the brokers and taste at the brokers and not buy them blind and have them go up to River Roots. Then we pick through the blind purchase. It's actually vetted every step of the way, so we're getting really high-quality barrels. So, again, we've got the 15 and the 16 on the way. Jay, thank you for the super chat, man. Let's do a spoiler super chat. There you go. Got you in for one, Jay. Cheers, dude. Matthew, where do you store all this bourbon? Yeah, I don't know. In my basement and on my floor. Lynn says, I bet your favorite will be B524. I think it could go that way. Blind, I think it could go that way. Chris, I'll get to those in a sec. Thanks, man. Tafurkalo. All right, Ben, glad to see you back and healthy. Got to pace yourself. We need more drum solos. Yeah, man, soon. I'm talking about doing some more drum covers with my buddy who has that studio. Okay. Thanks, man. Thank you, Ben. Clay says, as good as the Driftless Rye is, I'm just loving the bourbon as I'm a big dark chocolate. Yeah, that was the most dark chocolate and coffee I've maybe ever had in a whiskey, by the way, Clay. Had to hide the bottle so I don't plow through it. I'm with you, man. Okay. So real quick, let me give you a couple tasting notes, guys, on this Evernorth pick. I'm not going to sit and try to hype all of our picks coming up. I'm just warming up with this because I've already been drinking today. This was much earlier. It was like at 1 p.m. But I don't need to start with the Eagle Rare. I can go right into 114 proof MGP. So again, this is finished in a turkey barrel for 6 months. I wish I had the bottle to show you, but it's going to be the gray label. There. It's going to be the gray label essence from Evernorth. So on the nose, this is like sweet kind of icing notes. It's got the cream soda thing that I really love from a lot of MGP barrels. If you find one, like our Dark Arts pick has some of that note. That was 10-year 36 rye. This is 7-year 21 rye. If you find that cream soda note in an MGP, that's like something that I really hang on to. I love those barrels. So sweet vanilla icing, cream soda notes. Has kind of like this prickly spice in there, and it's kind of hard to determine what the spice is, you know? It's like almost a very light cinnamon, I would say. It's not heavy. It's not like overly baking spice and pie crusty. Not too much of that. So overall, this is a very, it's a light and crushable and sweet whiskey. And then the thing that the turkey barrel, I think, added to this on the nose is this grape note at the bottom of the whiskey. But this is going to be a $70 bottle. And, you know, for me, we often are picking these huge flavor bomb whiskeys for our barrel picks. And I think probably 85% of the time I want to do that because those are my favorite whiskeys, like just intense, humongous whiskeys. But every once in a while, I want to pick a crushable whiskey, you know, because I want to change things up. And the theme of the November releases for us on November 8th are turkey, you know, November, Thanksgiving. So this is finished in a turkey barrel. Opus One is finished in a turkey barrel. This one is 1/3 the price, basically, of Opus One, more or less. So I thought it'd be cool to have, you know, one be the king turkey, and this is going to be kind of like the prince turkey. We'll do some sticker with like a baby turkey or something on it. But here we go on the palate. And it's just got enough spice to balance out that kind of icing and creamy sweetness that it's got. It's not overly complex. It's just super sweet, delicious sipping bourbon. And I'm glad that we have something like this in the pick program up to this point. Because I can't really think of another pick. Like, yeah, thinking back, this might even be the lowest proof pick that we've done. 114. I don't think we've done anything lower than that. Hello? You trying to close this door? Oh, give me one sec. Why? Oh, sorry. This is in the way here. All right. I'm being too loud. My wife just got home. My beautiful wife. Jeremy, I think, yeah, maybe some of those are lower, but I think of all the stuff that we've released, at least up to this point, it's probably the lowest, right? 114. God, the Green River, 132. That's definitely the highest proof. Yeah, this is going to be the lowest proof. So, oh no, the Dark Arts was 112. The Dark Arts was 112. I think the Dark Arts drinks a little hotter than this, though. This is very, very crushable. Rich, do you like it better than your American Whiskey Evernorth pick? That was the experimental, which, just talking value, that 9-year experimental, off the charts value. Like, to me, that's a $90 to $100 bottle. So I think this falls in line. Like, I would price that higher, objectively speaking. I mean, we didn't do that on purpose. Whoa, 179 in here. Did we just jump way up? That's crazy. But I think I probably like that one a little bit better because it's more root beer, and this one is more crushable. But a lot of people don't like that American whiskey profile. They don't like the wave stave. So this is maybe for people that want something sweeter and more crushable. But, you know. Although, I don't know, man. This smells good. It smells very, very good. I would need to put this in a blind, actually, with a couple things. I mean, that would stand out. That American would stand out like a sore thumb in a blind. I want to know what other people think about this. So, I'll be curious. Axel, 20 pesos, please. All right, let me get you in here, man. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Got you in. And David Roback, in for one, says, let's see, David. Let me get you in here first. Says, cheers, I'm making bourbon-infused toothpicks. Oh, wow. To go with Buffalo Trace vanilla extract. Thoughts on which whiskey to infuse? I don't know how it's... Dude, a whiskey-infused toothpick? I have no idea. Do you need to do something that's, like, more intense because it's a toothpick? Like, does it need to be more intense to be noticeable? I have no context for that. Just do Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. That should play well. Or Booker's. Do a Booker's toothpick, you know? It kind of makes sense, right? The peanut and the woodiness with a toothpick, that seems like it would track. 18-year King of Kentucky toothpicks. Yeah, there we go. That's good. Okay, let's keep it moving now. Let me get into William Heaven Hill, guys. So, you've probably seen... let me see if I can put this on the screen. I need to upload it just very quickly. Here it is. So, some of you guys may have never had one of these William Heaven Hills, and that would be very understandable because I believe these are distillery only. So, here it is on the screen. A little dark on the image, but you can see this is what the bottle shape looks like. It's got the gold wax on the top, 13 years old, and every year that they put these out, I think it's, maybe they do 2 a year, because I think the 17 was this year, but maybe not. Maybe the 17 just lasted for quite a while in the gift shop, but these are usually visitor center releases only, always different age statements and different proofs. There's already been a bottled and bond before, so this is not a new thing. I liked the 17, but it wasn't my favorite. I don't think it was worth the secondary prices whatsoever. And it was a little bit of a lighter Heaven Hill profile overall. Parker says, even at the distillery, you have to wait 24 hours in a parking lot. Yeah, I'm not down for that. I would rather just pay the pay the upcharge, you know. Jason, thank you for the super chat, man. I got you in for 2. Appreciate you. So, let's see what this is all about. And look, pricing on these, I think is probably $200, $250. It's definitely a higher price. Secondary $600 right now on this. So keep that in mind. You know, we're talking 100 proof 13-year Heaven Hill. C923 Elijah Craig was 13 years 7 months at 133 proof or something. So we'll see if this is worth it. All right, very, very oaky smell. And I'm glad because I wanted this to have something that differentiates it from, I mean, I could compare it to maybe a McKenna, but I wanted this to have something that would differentiate it from the pack. And I think on the nose already, it's kind of doing that. Guys, let me know if the internet connection's getting wacky. I'm getting a notification here. Interesting. Looks like I'm losing people. Not sure if that's the case. Terry says it's fine. Okay. All right. So, all right. Very, very, very oaky here. Kind of molassesy on the nose. It's got this syrupy, mapley, molasses, brown butter, dark profile. It feels cooked down, you know, feels reduced. So it's heavily concentrated on the nose, and that's a good thing. I don't really pick up any fruit on the nose of the William Heaven Hill 13, though. I would say this is all caramelized notes, all dark, oaky, leathery notes, and it has nothing to do with fruit whatsoever. So it smells good. Let's go to the palate. Oh, wow. It's like if you could make a cinnamon roll out of oak. Wow. Tastes good. Kind of a one-trick pony. It's good. It's a good trick, you know? But I don't think that's overly complex. But I think this actually smells and drinks more like a 15 or 16-year product as opposed to a 13-year. But is it special enough to wait in line for 24 hours and spend a couple $100, or you decide not to do it and you're going to pay $500 or $600 on secondary? Is it worth that? Knowing about the 17-year that came out and the 15 before that, I don't know. I don't know yet. And I know not everything can be like bombs away, fireworks, 140 proof. I totally understand. But after the first sip of this, you kind of acclimate to the very, very tannic grip that this has from all the oak on the palate. And once you acclimate to it, the second sip kind of fades away and it gets pretty dry. So let me grab a McKenna. Let's do a quick side-by-side. This is not going to be close. You can already tell. For reference, this is a 2014 barreling. So, you know, bottled sometime this year in 2024. Well, Rich, I mean, consider the McKenna is 10 years age stated and 100 proof bottled and bond. And the William Heaven Hill is on paper the same thing, just 3 years older. I know probably in practice it's going to be very different. But I think, you know, putting this next to the William Heaven Hill, $60 bottle versus, I don't know what the 13 is. The price is probably what, $200, guys? Anybody know? William Heaven Hill 13. I don't even know if they have like press releases for William Heaven Hill to give you an SRP. But no, I think this is a good comparison, actually. Oh, okay. So, all right. So McKenna now. This has like a pencil shaving, wood shaving note to it. Kind of a sourness, and not in a, like, sometimes like sour notes on whiskeys can mean that the whiskey's very old and the oak notes turn sour or the fruit notes turn sour. This is just kind of sour for the sake of being sour. Yeah, there's not a lot going on here. It's kind of blandly wood shaving, oak forward, that pencil shaving thing. And very nutty, like super peanuts on the palate for McKenna. Okay, that's not a great one. Now back to the William Heaven Hill. So the nose already, it's like, all right, this just smells like molasses and brown butter, and again a hint of that. Like, it's not super maple forward, but you can sense it in the background, like this maple heavy. Like, I don't even know what I want to say. Like real maple syrup, not like cheap maple syrup, you know? Yeah, it's so oaky. So much better. You know what, the William Heaven Hill 13 reminds me of a proof down Heaven Hill 17. So this is completely opposite in my mind of the profile that we got from the William Heaven Hill 17. I'm going to start saying too many Heaven Hill and William Heaven Hill 17s and 18s, so just bear with me. William Heaven Hill 17 and Heaven Hill 18 have this light Heaven Hill profile. It's like more marzipan and a little bit creamier, less heavy, funky oak. Whereas Heaven Hill 17 is all funk, tastes like a Dusty, tastes like Russell's 15 in a lot of ways, but better in my opinion. I think Heaven Hill 17 is better. And I was kind of let down by Heaven Hill 18 and William Heaven Hill 17 because they were that lighter profile. This William Heaven Hill 13 is the dark profile of Heaven Hill 17. So for those of you that like Heaven Hill 17, you're going to love this. The only problem is going to be the proof, because I think this was proofed down a little too much. I don't I understand wanting to release a bottled in bond. They're showcasing a single distillation season, which is cool. And it's one for the people that don't want their faces ripped off by proof. But the people that are waiting in line that long probably want a little extra proof. I mean, that's kind of my assumption. So, I don't know. I'll say this. If I had the chance to buy one of these at retail, if I had a guaranteed shot to buy one of these at retail and I had to wait in line for 4 hours, I wouldn't do it. I don't think I would do it. I think after the second sip, I'm bored by that whiskey. First sip, you're like, holy shit, this is a great profile, and it's very oaky. And then after that, it kind of goes away. So that's a pass for me, only considering the price and the rarity. If it was a $100 bottle, that's a pickup all day. If it's a $125 bottle, it's a pickup all day. You know, and if it's readily available and you're not spending hours and hours waiting on it. But that's just not the reality. So that's going to be a pass. As much as I love dark, funky whiskey profiles, if you neuter the whiskey and bring it down to this proof, I think it's kind of a shame. Oh my God, Joe, it's $290 plus tax. Oh hell no, not even no. On no planet am I paying $290 plus tax for that bottle. Nope, they can keep it. And that's coming from somebody that spends a lot of money on whiskey, blindly even, as you'll find out from these Safi bottles. These were $325. So I am no stranger to spending that kind of money and wanting to chase the hard-to-find stuff, but that is not it. So I don't think anybody should have FOMO on that bottle in particular. Oh, I got some more super chats. Thank you, guys. Make sure if I miss one, by the way, please give me an all caps message in the chat so I can make sure I see it. Paul G, thanks for the super chat, man. Let me get you in for 4. Thanks for great whiskey choices and content. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate the support, man, and thanks for hanging tonight. B Walsh, hope you feel better, Cam. Let's see, get you in here for 4 before I keep reading. Seems like everyone has run down lately. Yeah, everybody. Last week in the orchestra, everybody was sick. Like walking around, people are coughing and just, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going. And Sarah was sick too. So usually I'm the one that gets her sick. She got me sick, or somebody at work did, I guess, on this one. Oh, what's up, Mojo? Toucan Sam, Cam Dre. What's up, dude? Good to see you. The Circle of Death crew. All right, Tom Snyder, get you in here for 4, man. Cheers. Looking forward to more picks. Thank you. Thanks, man. No, excuse me. Noah says, the 2019 William Evan Hill 12-year cast strength purple label is one of the best bourbons I've tried. I've heard great things about that one. I've heard that the 15109 proof is also very good, but I've heard that one is special. And I heard that the green label with the gold lettering, the 15-year that's like 144.2 proof, it's like the hazmat one. I heard that is one of the best whiskeys of all time, but I don't know. Haven't tried that one. It's like 3,500 or something on secondary, so I can pretty assuredly say that I will never own and probably never try that one. Keegan, thank you, man. Says that Opus is staring me down. I'm excited to get into that tonight. Jason, onto the Driftless Rye. Awesome, man. All right, Matt. Thanks for this super chat. And for 1, I'm a competitive high school marching band director. I've been sick for 3 weeks. Oh, I remember those days, dude. As a student. I was never a band director myself, but I did teach a lot of drum lines, so I do remember those days. Ben, this is a great question. Actually, it's hilarious. Would you buy the 10-year RD1 Ambarana finished LE for $300? Get out of town. Okay, I am 95% sure from what I've heard that is 10-year beam, 78.5 corn mash, which is what Going Nuts was. And Going Nuts was $115. And if you put that in an Ambarana barrel, or you put an Ambarana chain or stave or whatever the hell they're doing, it doesn't make it worth $300. In my book, it makes it worth $20 because I don't like Ambarana. I think it... Listen, of course, always taste before you draw 100% conclusions. But any Amburana LE for $300 is the most absurd profit margin on the market. I mean, that is astronomical margins because Amburana barrels cannot cost enough to bump the price $200 per bottle for the consumer. Come on. And like, I don't know the people at RD1. Like, I'm sure they're good people and they're nice people. And it's a business move, I would say, probably through and through. But man, I look at that from the outside and I go, that is not a good look for the company, I feel like, because it's just so expensive. Dude, 300 is, sorry, I don't mean to go on a tirade here about that, but it just, I saw, like, someone posted that in the Discord. I couldn't believe that it was real. But it says LE. Yeah, Parker, you know what? I'm guilty of that too, so. Joe, I wonder if the 10-year RD1 tastes like ultra-aged apple cinnamon powdered oatmeal too. Yeah, just with a little more oak. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I really don't. Okay, let's keep moving. Hey, real quick, selfish plug, okay? So, there's probably a lot of people in here right now that are in the Patreon, and for that I say thank you. And there are probably a lot of people in here that are not in the Patreon as well. So we had one of our barrel picks. Ooh, that had a little hiss to it, little pressurization. We had one of our barrel picks go public, and there's still maybe 5 or 6 cases of this stuff left, 6 packs. And the link is in the description of this video if you want to pick one of these up. I'm going to taste it right now. People in the chat, some of those people were on the pick, and they've tried this. And I said when we picked it, it's going to be slept on. It was a high-yield barrel, 180 bottles, so that is a lot because it's a 5-year whiskey. But it's $65. It is a Hard Truth Sweet Mash Rye. The bottles actually look like this, so you may have seen these. But the regular blends that they have on the shelf, they're 30-barrel blends, and it's a combination of different barrel profiles. So they have their standard barrel profile, they have wave stave barrels, and they have spiral cut barrels. And I'm sure many of you out there have heard people, especially the bourbon junkies, talk about wave stave barrels, which is, if you go and Google it right now, Google wave stave barrel ISC, which means Independent Stave Company, and you'll see the cutout shape on the inside of the barrel of the wave staves. I believe they do the cutout and then they char the barrel. So everything is charred wood on the inside that makes contact. And the waves in the wave stave impart this very kind of sarsaparilla root beer profile, a little smokiness sometimes too, and if you overdo it, it can get a little rubbery. So Hard Truth has some wave stave barrels, they have their regular barrels, and then they have the spiral cuts. And the spiral cuts are different because they char the barrel first, and then they cut a spiral up through the barrel. Again, you can look that up as well on ISC's website. And then the whiskey is exposed not only to charred wood, but also to raw wood because you've cut it out after you've charred it. And that combination is very interesting, and it takes a while for the whiskey to settle in the barrel and adjust, to the extraction from both types of wood that it's in contact with. So these 30-barrel blends that they do, Hard Truth, are a combination of all those different kinds of barrels put together, which generally yields a little bit more of a cleaner, custardy, fruity, sweeter profile, in my opinion. The single barrel that we picked is actually a spiral cut barrel. So a lot of folks, I think, see these picks from Hard Truth. Number one, a lot of people haven't heard of them. And then number two, a lot of folks associate those picks with the base batch profiles, and they're vastly different. So just throwing that out there as kind of a precursor to talking about this. And actually, I'll put it next to the batch, and I'll talk about the differences between these two. Prozac says, is spiral cut the same as JD Sinatra? I actually don't know what the Sinatra is. Maybe somebody else in the chat knows. So this is my favorite batch of the Hard Truth Sweet Mash Rye, and it's actually their very first batch. I think they're probably in batch 10 or 12 now at this point. But this was released in 2021. So this is fairly old, And the whiskey at this point was probably 2 or 3 years old in this batch. Our pick is only 5 years old. And so their typical batch is, like I said, a little sweeter, a little more custardy and fruity. It reminds me, it's a rye, but it's a sweet mash rye. And it reminds me of Buffalo Trace products. It's very honey forward as well, very sweet. I think if you smell this, you're never going to know it's a rye whiskey, the batched version, right? It tastes like an amped up Buffalo Trace product. Like E.H. Taylor in particular, I would say, has very similar characteristics to E.H. Taylor. And it's like a 2 or 3 year rye whiskey in this case. So our pick that we did is a 5-year barrel. It is 126.6 proof compared to this 115 of the batch. So 126.6. It spent all 5 years in the spiral cut barrel. And pricing was crazy. We were able to get this down to $65, which is as cheap or cheaper than the batched product in most markets, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, but Lynn, it's not $90. It's $90 after shipping, but you know, shipping is shipping. It kind of is what it is. And then, you know, with the discount code, it goes down a little bit, maybe closer to $85. But bottle price, $65. Other people have charged $90 for these picks before shipping, which, you know, I'm glad that we're much lower than that. All right, so anyways, on the nose, Hard Truth has kind of a flat cola note to it. Very heavy caramel syrup, caramel drizzle note on the nose with an apple note. So I'm going to refer to that as a caramel apple note, like you get at the fair. Underneath that, you get kind of like apricots and fresh fruit notes underneath that caramelized layer. Wow. And it's an intense whiskey, you know? It doesn't taste like a rye at all, but it drinks like one in the sense that it's very intense and full-bodied and effervescent and spicy on the palate. But it doesn't have the herbal qualities. Very slight floral note to this, but it's like a sweet floral, not an overly herbal and outdoorsy floral. So the floral characteristics in here are more of like a fruity floral combination. Again, thinking about fresh fruits kind of is what I would say. And all the while, that caramelized layer and that kind of flat cola, a little bit of a root beer thing, but not heavy root beer like the Ever North American Wave Stave stuff. The spiral cut is a little more of a balanced and gentle cola influence. But, you know, if anybody's interested, and it couldn't be more different than the base product, which I kind of like. It's kind of a cool separation to essentially take one barrel out of a 30-barrel blend and extract that profile and see just how different it is than the blend itself. So, anyways, link for that's in the description with the discount code if you want to buy, you know, one of those or whatever the case may be. So, trying to sell these through by November 8th, if at all possible, just to keep things moving. I don't like having barrel picks sitting online. What's up, Matt Porter? You're at bowling, dude. You're gonna blow out your other bicep tendon. Then what are you gonna do? You better learn how to bowl with your feet, bro. Terry Powers picked up a Hard Truth Double Oak Rye last week and heard great things. It was 87. I'll be interested to see how it compares. Yeah, that will be interesting. I didn't even know they were doing a Double Oak Rye. I don't think I knew that. Rich says very pretty bottle. Yeah, the bottle design's super cool. Oh, by the way, just a shameless plug for Hard Truth. If you ever have the chance to visit these guys, it is freaking gorgeous where they are. And the amphitheater they have there, just go spend the day at Hard Truth. It's the grounds are so cool. That's, you know, that's very, very much worth pointing out. What would you pay for a Springbank 12 cask strength? I have no concept of what those go for these days, so I just don't know. What is SRP on a Springbank 12 cask strength? I do like them, but you know the prices on those have gone kind of crazy, from what I understand. All right, I'm scrolling back down, guys. You learn something every day. Shipping is shipping. Yeah, well, I exclude shipping costs from online whiskey purchases. You can't consider that in the bottle's price. You know, that's all I'm saying. All right, Mr. Erickson, thank you for the super chat. Let me get you in for 4. Says, hey, just curious if the bottles from the no. So yeah, I mentioned earlier, everything is going out over the next, like, let's say 3 days. So about 30 or 40 boxes are going to go out tomorrow. The reason there are so many boxes is because we split up an entire short barrel from Driftless Glen to the top tier of Patreon members. So I have like 42 boxes or something to send out of that. And that's been a process that I underestimated. So then plus the giveaways, it's all getting packed right now. My basement is a freaking disaster. I have boxes everywhere. So I've got some barrel chunks in that glass. But anyway, sorry about that, man, and thank you for the super chat. $150 for a Springbank cask. God, I mean, I would pay that, but I don't want to pay. I really don't want to pay over SRP for those things. But I get it. You know, it's really, really good whiskey. But the batches are also very different too. So in many ways, I would say it's kind of a try before you buy, even at SRP. I keep hearing people gushing over Hard Truth. Yeah, I think for a good reason, though. Hard Truth stuff, especially as it... Like, dude, the stuff at 2 and 3 years old was crazy. Now that it's 5, you know, it's getting over 5 years old, I just think the sky's the limit for... when this hits 8, 9, 10 years, this is the kind of profile that's going to age very gently, I think, and get complex and round. And I don't think it's at risk of being... like over oaked at all. So I can't wait to see what it's like in 3 or 4 more years. Just busting on you, brother. Oh, I know. I got for 130. Oh, dude, 130. That's like in that case, even though 12 is not super old for Scotch, because it's so rare and, you know, hyped now, that's about $10 a year, and that's a fine formula for something like that, I think. Weird request. Can you give tips on how to get away with mailing olive oil? How do you pull it off? I have a system. So, you know, you need to make if you want to ship olive oil, you need to make an account on your favorite shipper's website and generate your own labels and just drop boxes off, so that there are less questions about your olive oil. But the actual packing of the box, I have a whole system and stuff. So that's all I'm going to say about that on a public live stream. Tom was there for the Hard Truth pick. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's keep moving, guys. I can't do the 13th colony yet because it's going to absolutely demolish my mouth. Clip that. What are we going to do next? We did the William Heaven Hill. Let's get into this Safi stuff. No, you know what? Let's do the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Blind. We're at that point. Let's do the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Blind, and now I'm going to start getting into the Venmo and PayPal Super Chats while we do this. So I wanted to have 3 fresh glasses for this blind, and I think that's all I've got. I've got 2 more over there, actually. But I took a bunch up to River Roots today because I travel with my own glasses like a freaking dork. So let me get these labeled. And we're going to do best of Elijah Craig 2024. So let me know what you guys think. If you've had the chance to try C924, let me know which one you think is going to win if you've tried all 3 this year. Like, what would be your favorite, I guess, is a better question. So we're going to double sticker these. I wrote in pencil, so not going to be able to see through the bottoms of these. So from left to right, as I pour these right now, it's going to be A, B, and C, and then I'll mix them up in front of you. And along the way, as we do this, I don't have cards or anything like to show you which one is which. It's only 3 pours, so we'll go through this fairly quickly, and we'll kind of have the reveal all at the same time for you and me. So this is B524. So let's get this poured. I'm going to make sure all of these are the same fill in the glasses. This is C. Make sure we're good. Yep. Okay. I need to pour a little bit of that out. That was a little too much. Okay. And we've got A. Cool. So, just a reminder, A is 10 years, 9 months, the youngest and lowest proof ever, and assuredly my least favorite batch of Elijah Craig barrel proof. I did a blind for that. So if it comes in second place today, then I am wrong, and my consistency sucks. So A124 has to come in last at this blind, or else I suck. B524, this was the spicy one, the super spicy batch, at least for me, 130.6, 11 years, 2 months. And C924, 129 proof, 11 years on the dot. All right, so let me move these out of the way. You can watch me mix these up. Before I do that, I'm going to coat the glasses. That way I don't see any streaks on the glass from where I poured out. When you pour out some of these, you can see the streak on the glass. That then identifies the glass, right? So there we go. They are being mixed up now. Let me check the chat real quick. Mike says artisanal olive oil and salsa. There we go. Joe made some olive oil company labels. No one knows that. Oh, I don't know that joke. And if I say it out loud, someone's going to laugh at me because I always say things out loud that I shouldn't say out loud on these streams. Like Fermunda. Jason P. here for the olive oil picks. Thanks, Jason. I got you in for 2. So after this, after we do this Elijah Craig barrel proof, blind, I'm gonna put the I'll probably taste the Opus One after this because there's a pretty good comparison there, if you know what I mean. Jason, Cam pulling his own glasses at Short Barrel reminded me of those who'd bring their own pull cue. Yeah. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. All right. Jacob, we are on the ECBP right now. I just mixed them up here. So we're going to start with the blind now. I need to label these glasses 1, 2, and 3 now that they're mixed up. All right, 1. And this is from your left to right. 1, 2, and 3. All right, so let's go to glass 1 now. All right. I might do a quick down the line nosing just to. All right. Interesting. All right. So, glass 1, we're calling this. Wise Guy Stu says ECBP B524 best of the year. It better be B or C. If I pick A, something's very, very wrong with me. Jesse, unfortunately, I don't have any of the Green River pick left, so I don't have any of that till it shows up. Or else I would totally do that. All right, glass 1. This feels kind of sharp and angular on the nose. There's a butter note to this, like just straight up stick of butter, type note. Definitely nutty. I don't know how to... There's something about Glass 1 that's like, I don't know if bitter's the right word. Astringent maybe is the word on the nose. Like there's something about it that is not hitting me correctly. But let's do the palate now. Huh. Maybe there's just, I might just need an adjustment period, to be honest with you. Coming off of the Hard Truth. I think maybe I just need to have a sip of each of these before I start making judgments on them. Because I just think the base profile of this is so different. So let me kind of go down the line on the palate as well. Because also, I think this year, these Elijah Craig batches, like, I think pretty much all of them were fairly nutty. B524 might have been, unblind, to me, the least nutty of the bunch, and we'll see how it fares now. But I think A and C, like A I hated, C I liked, even though it was a one-hit wonder. But I thought they were both pretty nutty. So let me go to Glass 2 now. Ooh. Ooh. That tastes like grass. I don't think that's a palate adjustment thing. I think that's just a not good thing. So it's just it's like you sprinkled a sugar packet onto grass clippings. You mowed your lawn, you just scooped it up and you put it on a plate and you poured a sugar packet on it, and that's what this tastes like. Yo, not it. That is not it. Let me go back to Glass 1 and taste it now. Okay. So I think the Glass 1 thing was a palate adjustment thing. I think Glass 2 I objectively do not like. So let's go to Glass 3 now. Whew. Glass 1, or 2 is still lingering. The grass is still lingering. Jacob pours, I love nuts. All right. I'll put that on the screen. Let's do it. All right, on to Glass 3. Okay, Glass 3 has kind of a more ethanol, I think, maybe than the other two. But it is more of like what I got on the William Heavenhill 13 earlier, which is kind of like that molassesy brown butter effect. This has more of that note than the other two. Cinnamon off the freaking charts on that. So I want you guys to know, like, I'm not going through this and trying to guess these right now because you're so often going to get that wrong. Damn, that is a long, long palate on that one. But it's kind of spice for the sake of spice on the palate. So let me taste Glass 2 one more time. You know, good luck. No, that is horrible. That is horrible. Tastes like soil, like potting soil. Okay, so it's between 1 and 3. All right. Thanks, Matt. Says, cheers to Cam, whiskey reviewer of the year. I don't know about that, man, but I appreciate it. Thanks, dude. I got you in for one. All right, let me get up the old Venmos and start chipping away while we get to this showdown. God, I tell you what, I cannot do grassy whiskey. I cannot do it. If that, I know I'm not trying to guess. If that is not A124, I'm broken. I am absolutely broken. God, I hope that's A124. Oh. This is so tough, man. Between B and C is so tough on the nose. Or what I'm presuming to be B and C. I should say 1 and 3. between these two on the nose, one of these, like, so glass 1, which I originally was weirded out by a little bit, there's this, like I said earlier, and this is before my palate adjusted, it almost had this astringency to it, and I got used to it, but there is something aggressive on the nose that jumps out at me that's like it's very nutty. I would say this glass 1, very nutty. Almost like a turpentine thing. And I didn't pick that up on any of these unblind through the year as I reviewed them. But just in this moment right now, yeah, a little bit of like this paint thinner, turpentine-y like vibe to glass 1. I think it drinks really well. It's very nutty. I don't want that to totally be the deciding factor of whether I put it in first or second, because I think the balance on the palate, actually, the way it develops, is pretty darn good. And it's not a super oaky finish either. No. Huh. All right. I think on the nose, like, 3 has its own flaws, which is that it feels overly hot. It feels a little too ethanol forward for me. But there's more of a red fruit note on here, on 3. And again, like I said a little bit ago, a little more of that like molassesy thing in the bottom of the profile, and the base of the profile on the nose. That's the winner. I think that's got to be the winner. Yeah, I don't dislike 1. I think there's a weird thing about it, again, on the nose. And the palate is not complex, but I think it's actually maybe the most balanced palate of all of these. My first place, which is glass 3, is overly aggressive, so I would call it out of balance, but in more of a positive way that it's out of balance. Whereas 1 is more in balance, but there's no other wow factors to it profile-wise, and the nuttiness for me personally detracts. And then 2 is like undrinkably bad. I don't want that whiskey. So before we do the reveal, let me get this last super chat here from Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. Got you in for 4. Says sipping on B or C? Probably C924, right? Loving the stream and whiskey profile analyses, and looking forward to the upcoming drops. Thanks, man. Thank you for the super chat. So I think in last place, if this is not A, I'm turning in my whiskey online whiskey card. Okay, yeah, it's A. It's A124. Tragic whiskey. Tragically bad whiskey. Horrible. And this just reaffirms in this flight how much shit I have talked about this particular release. God awful. Should never have been released whiskey, in my opinion. And feel free to disagree with that. That's fine. A lot of people don't get turned off by grassy and earthy notes like this. But I think most people I interact with, when they taste something like this, they do not like it. All right, in second place, glass 1. If I had to guess, this is probably C924, but I don't know. All right, so C924 is in second, and this tracks. So B is in first place. So B524 is my favorite of the year. You know, I still like C. I still recommend C, but just like I said in my review video, you have to like a nutty profile. You have to understand going into it that it's a simplistic whiskey. It is not super complex. It kind of is what it is on the surface, and you drink it and you don't think about it. And you have to like nutty whiskey. B524 gives you more fruitiness than any other batch this year. There's a heavier quality to the base of the whiskey, but even with that, it's still overly cinnamon spicy. Actually, I would say this is more of like chili pepper spice. And I don't I don't like that it's overbalanced in that way, but I still think even with its imperfections that it's better than these other two. So there you go. A124 was the bad one, Anthony. For me. Keith, let me get your entry in here so I don't forget. Thanks for the super chat, man. In for 4. Who do you respect the most for nosing whiskey? For nosing. I mean, that's so specific. Keith, I guess it depends on if you're thinking... Man, there's a lot of ways to take this question. I don't mean to overcomplicate things, although you know that I like to do that. You can look at whiskey analytically, or let's say from a stats perspective, like a Matt Madness, who is the best at nosing and just like knowing what's going, like what it is. You could also say who's the best at nosing and calling out which one is better of a lineup. Or you could also say who is better at nosing and like talking about the whiskey and giving tasting and nosing notes. I think, and like there are so many people whose noses I don't know. Like Nancy Fraley obviously is a legend. I've never like sat with Nancy while she nosed whiskey. I would imagine it's awesome to hear her talk about it, but I have no context. I really trust Matt Porter on a lot of stuff. Like especially, I mean Matt's good all around. Like Matt can guess stats clearly, world's top whiskey taster, and every time that we go head to head, he kicks my butt. He can also give you awesome tasting notes. And what was the other one? Oh, picking out the best ones in a lineup, like basically barrel picking or like evaluating whiskeys. He's also clearly good at that with his picks. So, I mean, for me, like Matt is top tier, I would say. Someone else that's like not a whiskey tuber, but is a podcaster who I think, I don't know if it's nose specifically or if it's just nose, palate, and everything. Kenny from the Mashup podcast, Kenny Mills. Freakish. Kenny, like, and Kenny and I have only hung twice. I trust his opinions on whiskey 100%. No questions asked. I trust him. So that would be kind of yeah. And I don't know if Kenny is the kind of person that can like smell something and say 127 proof and that's got to be Buffalo Trace or that's Heaven Hill. But from a quality perspective, what he can get out of whiskeys and how he can evaluate them, I think Kenny is like second to none. He's got a great nose and palate. So, and then there's like a lot of people that have a lot of different skill sets. You know, the junkies each have their own strength, I think, et cetera, et cetera. Sven says, here's for 1.5 ounces of the Opus LE. Nice. Buy a little pour of that. Thank you for the super chat, man. And then Steven Edwards. I'm going to go into that LE next here and taste it after doing this. I'll put it up against B524, which was the winner. Steven Edwards, in for 4, says, only River Roots I've tried is a 152 proof single malt seal box. Very hot and strong evergreen note. Yeah, those malt whiskeys are not really my thing. And I love River Roots and those guys. That's just not my profile. It has a marijuana note on the finish, like a total weed brownie, because it's so fudgy, the profile, and it's got this thing on the back end, so it tastes like a weed brownie. Not my thing, not my thing. But I know a lot of people love that profile. Keith says, thank you. Thanks, man. Another super chat, dude. Jeez. Appreciate it, Keith. Got you in for 4 more. Rich says, Kenny Mills is a boss, dude. And like, also... Kenny, when you hang out with him, he'll blind you with shit randomly, and he knows what to put next to things to throw you off and make you think like, what is going on here? He's very good in that way too. Greg says, got my hard truth today, love it. Greg, awesome. Hey, that's the first testimonial because the hard truths are just now getting delivered to folks. So thanks, man. Dan has strengths. Just brute strength. That's the only one. I'm just kidding. Okay. Rizzle D says, Fred Minnick. I really respect Fred. Fred and I's palates don't align probably like 75% of the time, So I'll often go watch Fred talk about a whiskey after I've reviewed it and tasted it, and I don't know what he thinks, and we just don't align. And so I think that's just a product of having two very different palates. And Fred's not the only person like that for me who we just don't align with. There are plenty of folks like that. And I think that's why people, you know, everybody watches different whiskey tubers and trusts different reviewers, and for that reason. All right. Joe says, how does A124 and C924 blend compare to B524? Let's see. Okay. So this is essentially a 50-50 blend here. So let's see how this does. What's up? It's a full glass, sir. It's a Pink Dan says Sarah beats Matt and Kenny. Yes, she does. If she's watching, yes, she does. Jacob Pours, thanks, man. In for one, says, what whiskeys do you think will become a Dusty in the future? That's a tough question. To me, when I think of Dusties, I don't think of hard-to-find stuff. I think of, like, what is a shelfer today? And we'll never know how those things are going to age in the bottle, like if they are going to change a little bit and get that old bottle effect. But what we do know is that when you look back to Dusties of 30, 40 years ago, these were not bottles that people were waiting 24 hours in line for. You know, it was a different time. So for me, it's like, I think probably that Jimmy's 70th anniversary Russell's, I'm looking at a bottle on this table, I think that's going to be a Dusty. It was a $50 bottle, big release. That's going to be a Dusty, you know? I think on the note of turkey, even some rare breeds from like 2019, like some of those rare breeds from 5 years ago were really good. So I think like laser code specific, I know people don't like to talk about all that, but I think that could be the case. You know, like I imagine like I don't know why I think Cooper's Craft 100 could be a Dusty at some point. You know, I think that's a cool one-off brand from Brown-Forman that I don't know how that does in their portfolio. Like, let's say they discontinue it in 3 years, and then you go 25 years down the road. I could see that being a Dusty, you know, because I think actually it's very flavorful, 100 proof, but only $40 whiskey. I don't know. Like, that's a tough question, you know. From Buffalo Trace, even though they're all hard to find, like maybe I don't know. E.H. Taylor? I'm not sure. Plastic Cap Early Times. There you go. That's a great call. Like the old Early Times is a great call. But I just don't think that like George T. Stagg, you know, it's impossible to find right now. So in 25 years, it's just going to be more impossible to find. That to me is a Dusty whiskey, but I think when I consider this question, I'm not thinking about those bottles. No dessert until you finish your A124. All right, let's see here. This is the A124 C924 blend. Honestly, it doesn't have any of the offensive qualities on the nose of A124, so that's a good sign. Whoa, that's a weird palate. That fixed all of the A124 problems. So I think Joe suggested this blend. The problem is the palate just goes away so fast. Up front, it's a caramel bomb. It's so delicious. It's like eating a Carmelo candy bar. And then all at once, it's just completely gone off your palate. No finish whatsoever. But there's a hint of a grassiness in the finish, but it doesn't take over your palate like the A124 did. And there's none of that on the nose. So I think you can probably fix A124 at home if you're willing to try. But to me, that's not really worth it. All right. So we'll save this glass. Let me get some water in it and get some water in me too. Dan says, thank you. I was saying Jimmy's 70th was going to be a Dusty too. Yeah, I can see that. But again, that's kind of a one-time release. But I think it's big enough to put in that category. But like, again, the difference between Rare Breed today, at least the one that I picked up maybe, let's say, 6 months to a year ago, and the one that I had in 2020, it's a remarkable difference. Like the 2020 or 2019, whenever that one was bottled, so good. Oh, on the topic of Rare Breed, I don't know how long it's going to stay in the market. Don't know if the batches have changed. The non-chill filtered travel exclusive 1 liter Rare Breed, that is going to be a Dusty. That is a great bottle. Dan, have you tried Cooper's lately? No, I haven't picked up a Cooper's Craft in a long time. So if there's been flavor drift, I could see that being the case. All right. So, clear one more glass. Ding dong. Let's taste the Opus One now, guys. So this is, again, what's in the giveaway tonight. 2 winners, 1 bottle each. So pick this up today. Just to remind you what is what is in here. Can't tell you the exact source, but it's 10-year-old Kentucky bourbon, finished for 1 year in a Wild Turkey barrel. That Wild Turkey barrel was reconditioned by Kelvin Cooperage. It was recharred, I believe, to a char level 1, so very light char. I think they probably scraped it out and recharred it. And this 10-year bourbon spent an extra year in that barrel. It's 130.84 proof. And the base bourbon, 75 corn, 15 rye, 10 barley. It's a unique mash bill for this particular producer. And we have the turkey on the label, the King turkey, because the turkey is what set this over the top, that finishing barrel. And then you can see he's standing on some hills with the heavens opening up behind them. So there you go. All right. So I'm going to put this next to B524. Proof-wise, it is almost an exact match. B524 is 130.6. Opus is 130.8. Age, basically the same. Opus is 10 plus 1 because of the finish, and this is 11 years, 2 months. It doesn't really get closer comparison-wise, whiskey profile-wise, if you know what I mean. So there we go. Let's go real quick to the B524 one more time. I think C923 will be a Dusty someday. I would agree, Jacob. I think that batch could end up being like that. All right, so B524. And now that I'm coming back to this, B524 actually has a really great vanilla note to it that I like. Not even vanilla, like powdered sugar donut. I don't think I've ever picked that up before on it. So now let's go to Opus One. Yeah. All right. Let me get a little more in the glass. Did you guys just lose my connection, or was that just on my end? Kind of odd. Good Lord. You lost it? Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my connection tonight. Interesting. Sorry, guys. Give me just a second. I was looking at how windy it was. We have some trees out back with our power lines and all that stuff. Man. Weird. If I lose you guys, I'll make sure the giveaway gets done. Don't worry about that. So, and I'll get everybody entered and all that stuff. This is odd. Sorry for the connection issues. I'm hardwired in, so... Yeah, this is not great. It's like an 80s HBO movie. All right, let's hope that it's okay. Restarting the stream is not a great move. It's just not a great move. I'd rather not do that if I can avoid it. All right. When I go off screen, by the way, can you still hear any of the mic, or does the mic cut out with the video? Sorry, that's a very specific question. I'm trying to think of maybe if it's just the video feed. Dude, guys, we pay for good internet, by the way. I just saw a Venmo come in that says, here's money for better internet. I promise, like, we pay a sizable upcharge for the internet. So, mic and video. Okay. The music staying makes sense because the music is being piped in from the browser. All right, thanks, guys. It truly is a connection issue then. So that sucks. Every once in a while this happens on streams, but it's not very often. So I've never been able to troubleshoot this because it's not consistent. All right, so anyways, on to Opus One. Sorry about that. So here's the B524. Here's Opus One. Opus One is like... It smells so intense. Humongous kind of dry, dark fruit notes, big cherry notes in this. But you can tell that it's a double oaked product. It's so light though on that extra spice that you get from a double oaking. It's light and it's balanced with that. Now this truly has this like rich, like I even said B524 in the blind, had that kind of molassesy note to it in the base of the whiskey. This has a humongous amount of that molasses note and kind of tobacco to go along with it on the Opus. Super chocolatey too. All right, let's taste it. It's gripping. Holy shit, it's gripping. Spicy. But to me, oh man, the finish is where this thing is the best. Hang on, I just gotta let this happen. Man. All right. Very spicy whiskey. Like, but not for the sake of spice. It's all counterbalanced with everything else going on in here. The finish is this just crescendo, constant crescendo of oak and leather. And it tastes so old in the finish. The finish reminds me of the Little Book Infinite finish, which I didn't like anything about the Little Book Infinite except the finish last week, or on the last stream that we did. But the finish was amazing. This has that same kind of finish. God. It's actually got some coffee notes in here too, and that's from the double oaking. It's not the first thing that I picked up on the nose, but as I come back to it after the first sip, I recognize the coffee a little bit more. The front of the palate is so flavorful and spicy. It tapers for a second in the mid palate as it kind of swells around, envelops your mouth. You get into all of the fruity cherry notes. And then as soon as it settles, it just kicks back up and flies off into a finish that is like crazy. So that's why we picked this. Wow. That's a great whiskey. So let me taste now B524 because people are going to say, hey, that's $185. I know that's expensive. Trust me. I almost didn't pick this because of the price, because I was just nervous at the time. That's $185, and this is going to be $75, $80-ish, right? And they go, hey, the stats are the same, so is this really worth the upcharge? And that's a very fair question. That's very good. B524, very good. And it is more caramel, like it's more of a centered profile, actually. Where, like, in the sense that it's all centered around being a big caramel bomb with a lot of spice, but that caramel core to the whiskey is, I think, more focused on the B524, and the Opus One is way more complex. And so there's more going on, there's more layers to kind of dig through, and it's less focused in that way. I think that's a good thing. Man. So I'll be curious to hear what people think of this when it does release November 8th. So we'll see. I will say this about the LE, though. We cracked this open today at River Roots, and it needs some airtime because it's a double oaked product. And I think all double oaked and all finished products, you need to get some air in the bottle, or if you pour your first glass of this stuff, give it 15 minutes. I know that's a little bit needy, but it comes out of the bottle a little bit tight. And then all of those cherry notes open up with some air. Ryan from River Roots told me that, and I was like, I didn't know whether to believe him or not. And then today I had the exact same experience with my bottle. So all right. So I'm very excited about that. And just aromatic spice, I don't know. Excited. All right, let's finally get these super chats in. So we have a couple more pours to do tonight. I believe the next thing on the agenda is going to be these Safi barrels, and we're going to end the night. What time is it? We're actually doing really well right now, on time. Shit, we still have the bookers. All right, we're going to do bookers next. It's time to kick it into high gear. Because I want to do a couple blind pours. We're killing it. We're doing good. It's going to be a hard act to follow with some bookers, but let's see. It's a Booker's LE, so it should be, should be good. This is the Booker's Reserves, 125.9 proof. Let's get it in the glass. Give it a second to chill out. Jason, just because I'm drinking more pours, you could just nurse one, I think Matt said something a second ago, too, about like, oh, yeah, the last 3-hour live stream, I was dead for 2 days. You don't have to drink the whole 3 hours. Parker, Opus One sounds awesome. Still can't wait for Opus 2 Ambarana LE. I bet. That sounds great. We'll make it $350 for that one. We gotta one up whoever did the other one. All right, let me grab the PayPals real quick, guys, because there's only usually a couple of those. Thank you, everybody who's super chatting tonight. I really appreciate it. This is what truly one of the big parts of what keeps the channel going, super chats and Patreon support. So I just, thank you. All right. We've got Chris jumped in for 5 in the PayPal. Thank you, Chris. I don't think he left a comment here. And then Jeff Smith in for 2 entries, says, love the content. Thank you, Jeff and Chris. Rizzle D, have you tried the 2024 Garrison Brothers Cowboy? I think I only have... When did that come out? Was that like a recent release? Because I have a couple samples from Jeb. Yeah, I only have the 22 and the 23 in sample bottles. They're not really my jam, but I understand why people like them. But yeah, I don't have the 2024. All right, guys, let's jump into Venmo here, which is pretty ridiculous in the best way possible. So thank you. All right, Travis super chatted literally hours before the stream and said floor whiskey cleanup fund. 2 entries. Thank you, Travis. The cleanup fund at this point, I need to be doing better with the cleanup of the floor whiskey. I really don't have an excuse now. Bobby Holton for 2 says shot at the Opus. Cheers. Thank you, Bobby. Lynn says for 4 entries, my grad year, 1987. Let's go Opus One. Thanks, man. Michael DeYoung in for 4 entries says giveaway tickets, please. You got it. I don't want to get flagged by the Venmo police, but you got it. In for 5, Marshall says cheers. Marshall, I think I'll be seeing you at that Crittenden's pick, so I'm excited for that. I don't think anybody else has commented in the Patreon, so I think the team is pretty much set as of 11:59 this evening. I'll know for sure who's coming on that pick. Scott Millward in for 4 entries. Thank you, Scott. Says Thanksgiving turkey. And let's do one more before we do this Booker's review. Terry Powers in for 5 says Flam Taps. That's a good call, Terry. That's a deep cut, a deep drummer's cut right there. All right, let's keep it going. I'll be damned. This Booker's Reserves, 125.9. That smells very, very good to me. I'm not a big Booker's person. I like when you find a good batch of Booker's, I will buy a good, if I have the chance to try through Booker's samples, because I don't go out and buy them blindly anymore, because it's too much of the same thing. 3 out of 4 batches per year, or sometimes 4 out of 4 batches, I buy them and I go, I don't like this. And then at the end of the year, you look and you're out over $400 buying all these batches. It just ends up being a waste of money. But finding a good Booker's batch is very exciting for me, I would say. And the Storyteller batch, I was very happy with that. The Bardstown batch, very happy with that. If you want to go way back, Big Man Small Batch is the best Booker's batch I've ever tried. And then there were, Kitchen Table, Beaten Biscuits, Country Ham. There were some in that realm that were good, but still not, at this point, they're not worth secondary for me. This smells pretty darn good. It is nutty, but there's a great balance. It feels more mature oak, more mature nuttiness and roundness to this. Yes, it is still like a spicy pie crust in a glass. But there's also a grape note, which I don't usually get on Booker's. There's a dark fruit note in this, and that's kind of what I use to identify good batches. If it's just a pie crust bomb, if it's just cinnamon and nutmeg and brown sugars, there's nothing special about that. And then you usually get the sharp peanut shell, and it's 6.5 years old. This is very nicely balanced on the nose. I like the nose more than I like the palate. The palate goes back to real classic Booker's. Even still, though, there is a lot of nuttiness, but I have to remind myself this is a Booker's. This is for the audience of people that like and probably seek out nutty whiskey because they like that profile. This is so oaky. The oak presence on this is perfect for a Booker's. That's my favorite part of the whiskey. It's old and funky feeling. It does not feel, I don't know, what is the Booker's Reserve? Is it 8 years old or something? This feels much older than that. I like the nose better than the palate. But all around, this is a very, very good Booker's. What's the price on the Booker's Reserve? In Virginia, which is ABC, $130. That's a buy. It's a buy at $130. I don't think it's worth any more than SRP. But with standard Booker's being basically 90 to 100, depending on your area, at SRP, that's what it's going to be in like a control state. This being a $30 upcharge, you do get, in my opinion, $30 more quality for this whiskey. Yeah, I like this stuff. What is this? I think this is Opus. Yeah. Okay. So what would be interesting is if I put ECBP C924 next to the Booker's Reserve, because C924 is a nuttier batch, and this Booker's drinks more like an ECBP, weirdly enough. Like sometimes we talk about Larceny or Elijah Craig batches that drink more like a Booker's. For instance, C924 Larceny drinks more like a Booker's to me. This Booker's Reserve drinks more like an ECBP. And that's not a comparison that I ever get to make, because I don't ever remember a Booker's drinking like an ECBP. They always drink younger. All right, so here's the C924. Proofs on these are close, too. Like, the C924 is 129, and the Booker's Reserve is basically 126. Easton Oliver says Booker's 24 batch 4 was surprisingly very good. Which batch was that, by the way? What was it called? Is that the Master Distiller's batch? Tom Lonzo. Gosh, I am behind. Sorry about that, man. Tom, let me get you in for 4. Says, another 4 having some Barrel King Magnificent 7 cigar blend. Cheers. Thanks, man. I think I have a sample of that cigar blend around here somewhere from Justin, who was in the chat, I think. Okay. Let me keep it going here. Chip. In for 4. Says, love River Roots. Dude, River Roots is very underrated. Very, very underrated. But I think they're gonna climb in popularity continuously. I think they're really starting to get their due because they're doing great stuff. Slad, Mr. JW has me muted. Smart choice. Still in a work meeting, but here you go, Short King. Thanks, man. Good choice. Tommy V. Let me get you in for 2. Says, Opus One sounds amazing. I'm more excited to hear what you have to say about the 13th Colony Double Oaked. Is Booker's Reserves better than Little Book Infinite? I'm not going to make that determination now. I have to do a video on that and think about it. I'm having a better reaction today to the Booker's than I did the Little Book, and also the price difference is $70. I need to revisit Little Book because people are telling me that I'm crazy for not liking it. I only liked the finish. I thought everything else about that whiskey was not good, and the blend didn't work. But I don't know. All right, Booker's Reserve versus C924. The Booker's on the nose is way better. I think it's better. A little younger, but more character to it and more of a like focused. Like the profile is very clear on the nose. That was C924. Okay. Now Booker's. Booker's a little drier profile, which makes sense. I like Booker's more than C924. Yeah. C924 does have a little more age to it in some regards, but it's more boring. So there you go. I really do like Booker's Reserve. Thoughts on Blood Oath? Never been blown away by Blood Oath. Never, never, never. I think excuse me, those blends typically don't work. And it's hard to know why they don't work, but I would attribute it to the fact that when they're blending things together, which is already a hard enough process when you're blending different mash bills and different age statements and stuff, but they also usually have one of the 3-ish components being finished in like a cognac cask or a rum cask or something. And I think it's very challenging to blend in only one component that's finished with other unfinished components. It's often it's very tough to make that blend work together and for things to not feel like they're falling apart. And then to make matters worse, when you proof it down to 98.6, when you're working with such disparate components in a blend, the blend needs to tell you what proof it should be at. You should experiment, every 5 proof points and see what's best. But if you just know you're going to go down to 98.6, you might just totally ruin the blend with the water because it's going to break things apart too much. I don't know. I've never been impressed. I haven't had the Bookers. I haven't had any Bookers this year. Just this reserves. Favorite rock band drummer, Keith? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't like the favorite thing. Like, Carter's amazing, I've never been like John Bonham. I like John Bonham, but I've never probably looked up a John Bonham video to watch out of like going, hey man, I'd really like to watch John Bonham right now. Just never been my thing. And like when I think about rock band drummers, I usually am looking up like metal drummers, or I'm looking up crazy like Mark Juliana is an amazing drummer. I'm gonna watch Mark, or I'm gonna watch Sput, Sput Seawright, excuse me, gosh, from Snarky Puppy, or Larnell Lewis. Like I'll watch those guys, which are like jazz, fusion, hip hop, like whatever you want to classify them as. It's kind of tough to classify. Or I'm watching like Eloy Casagrande, who's now in Slipknot. Like that guy's a freaking machine, Danny Carey is like a classic, of course, as well. Yeah, I think, did you have him in there? No, Casket Salesman did. Rich totally agrees on Blood Oath. Yeah, man, it's just never done it for me. Junior Fuentes says, if I win Opus One tonight, I'll go buy 3 hard truth picks. All right. You're on, dude. Matt says, Noelle is mad at you, Cam. I won't go to bed. Go to bed, dude. Just catch up tomorrow. Keep your wife happy. She's about to give birth. But she loves and respects my passion for whiskey. Oh, that's funny. George, thoughts on Middle West Straight Rye, Pumpernickel? Yeah, 100% buy. That is a great whiskey. All the barrel picks of that are good. It's just an instant buy for me. I actually have one right here. I still need to review this. They sent me their new cast strength batch collection. It's not single barrels. Yeah, just off the nose buy. Very good. Justin, I sent you a sample of that batch. Did you? Huh. I would have no idea. How recently did you send that, Justin? Is that what's in here? What's in here? I've had one sample on the floor that I've never unwrapped. This is some weird blend. Justin, did you really send that? Because I don't know where it would be. Oh, the BK sample. Yeah, you're talking BK. Yeah, I've got that. It's over there somewhere. Okay, I thought you were talking Booker's. Oh, yeah, Neil Peart has to be on the list. For sure. For sure. Oh, you guys know who an underrated drummer is? Brooks Wackerman. So he's playing with Avenged Sevenfold right now. You want to talk about a drummer that is versatile and can play just about anything? Brooks freaking Wackerman, dude. And I actually saw Avenged Sevenfold in March. Amazing. Just because he can play every style, but he just happens to play an Avenged Sevenfold. Amazing drummer. Amazing. And like, of course, nobody can beat the Rev. Like, back in the Waking the Fallen City of Evil days, no one can beat what the Rev did. But Brooks Wackerman, I think, is amazing. Much respect for him. Justin. Okay, I gotta get to these other whiskeys, guys. All right, let's dive in to, I think, the Safi barrels next. Jesse, are you still here, man? Yes, I see Jesse in the chat. Jesse, I'm gonna do those. Actually, let me ask you, Jesse, are you okay if I do those samples you just sent me? I think it's 30 and 30A. Mystery sample 30 and 30A. Are you cool if I do those tonight? Jesse said, sure, go ahead and do those. With a question mark. Uh-oh. All right, so what we have here in front of us are these two Safi. This is, the guy's name is Mike Safi. It's on the side of the bottle. Bottles are gorgeous. Really, really just... I love a wine bottle shape like this too, by the way. It's my favorite whiskey bottle shape. So like Willet, Rare Character, anybody that does this bottle shape, BTAC, I just think it's so classy. I love it. So we have two different single barrels. We have barrel 2 and barrel 3. So that's your left and right. They are both 8 years old. They are both 112 proof. So exact same stats on these. I don't know the mash bills, but we're going to talk about that in just a second. I am absolutely now getting more super chats in because I'm unbelievably behind. So let me know if you guys have heard of Mike Safi in the chat. Like, just has anybody even heard of him, or this brand of whiskey, which is called Safi Bourbon? Chris, anyone tried Limestone Farms? We're going to talk about that because there's a connection here. There's a connection with the whiskey in these bottles to another bottle that's on the table right now. Slab and Tommy V. I think I'm caught up on chats. You guys talking about Neil? Yeah, he is absolutely the standard. Scott, let's see who's I got Terry. All right, Tom Lonzo was in for 4 again. And Venmo, he says, put me in for 4, looking forward to the Opus and enjoying the channel. Thanks, Tom. I got your other one before I got this one, but that's okay. Chris Keller in for 4 with a pizza slice. Pizza sounds freaking good, dude. Oh my God. There's a local joint here. I don't know if you guys watch Dave Portnoy's pizza reviews. I know it's just kind of silly, but it's fun. I love to watch those. There's a place here that got an 8.1, which is a great score for him. And the pizza is fantastic. It's called Sexton's. It's in Hilliard and Gahanna. I love their pizza. Excuse me. Daniel Patterson in for 10. Thank you, dude. Just put me in for that... He says, put me in for that Heaven Hill LE. I don't know who... That's speculative. Wow. What an assertion, dude. Says, can't miss Opus One. Thank you. Matt Thomas in for 2 says... And guys, let me just get through a few more of these before we get to these Safis. Looking forward to Opus One. Keep up the great work. Thank you. And Justin... Man, Justin, you didn't have to do that. Justin is in for 10 entries. Thanks, bro. Says Twinks and Drinks. All right. Moving right along, Justin. Says total. Brandeis Johnson says totally for my husband. I'm just getting over similar sickness. Cheers. Thank you. In for 4, I gotcha. And let's do 2 more. Leo Ruth, local legend Leo says Buffalo plus turkey says get in my belly. 25. Thank you. And Jeremy Hughes in for 10. God, you guys are very generous tonight. Says want that Opus. All right. Thank you, guys. I'm going to say cheers with a first sip of this Safi, but let's get into these Safi barrels now. I'm probably going to share my screen here in a second and show you guys the press release. Justin. Parker, I hate you. Noah, get out. You guys get out of here. Yeah, Jesse. I'm not a fan of Portnoy's pizza reviews whenever he gives a good place a good review you can't get in to get a pie for the next 6 months. Yeah, that tracks. Sexton's in town here blew up when that review happened. Sam, thoughts on Willett Family Estate Rye? Is the value there at $350 for an? It's usually they're pretty dilly, even at that age. I don't think the value's there. But it's also just usually not my profile. But I haven't had a lot of them, so maybe there are different profiles for those older ryes that I haven't tasted. I've had a 10, 11, and 7 year. And, like, the 10s and 11s are good, and it's really cool to crack those open and taste them. But if it's my money and I've got $350 in it, I'd probably just go buy one of those 11 or 12-year ryes on the market right now being sourced for $100 to $150, because that's more my profile anyways. But I think you do get quality from the Willett ryes, from my experience. Very small sample size. I just think that the profile is not always my jam. Tony Hall says Sexton's is the truth. Yeah, man. Sexton's is good. And, like, the Hilliard location, which is the one Dave went to, is literally 2 minutes from my parents' house. Like, the house I grew up in. I'm like, oh, my God, man. Dave was, like, right down the street, you know? Matt says from Noel, Matt is too obsessed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Matt. And Noel, I'm sorry. I'll get you in for 2 more, dude. Okay. All right, I'm going to probably share my screen here because I want to pull up the Safi Bourbon press release. Good Lord, Google. All the pop-ups. Oh, do you want cookies? Oh, track your location, this and that. It's like, I'm very over the pop-ups. All right, so this is Breaking Bourbon. This is what I'm going to end up putting on the screen. Hang on, having a heck of a time seeing what's going on here. Okay. Tony says, damn, that's 5 minutes down the road from me, that hot honey. See, I don't do the hot honey. I mean, I not that I don't like it. But just their cheese pizza from Sexton's and their pepperoni pizza, so freaking good, man. I also like, totally different style, but Rubino's in Bexley. I also, like, that's where I went to college, went to Capitol. So Beano's was, like, the place that we would go. Still cash only. Sarah and I love Rubino's. Rich, got you in for 2, man, says, per my Facebook chat to you, we should have a contribution to the channel Infinity Bottle Challenge stream where you pick the best. Rich, I saw you send something. I haven't looked at because I was driving home earlier. I'll check it out, what you're talking about. Rubino's is classic Columbus pie, yeah. All right, sorry, no more pizza talk. Here is the press release, guys. Let's go through this together real quick. Safi Bourbon debuts with uncompromising, extraordinary single barrel. Okay? All right. So from with first 4 words of the press release, they got the wrong palette in there. So that I hate to be like a snob, but that does kind of bother me. There are 3 palettes, and that is the wrong one. So, from an uncompromising palette of Mike Safi is the debut release of Safi Kentucky Straight Bourbon, the first of what promises to be many world-class whiskeys. Safi combines his passion for brewing and distilling, and frankly, guys, like I don't know the name Mike Safi outside of this. So, if you guys, that's why I asked earlier, if you know his name, maybe you know his reputation, you know, in the culinary type world. I don't know that. Together, he presents an incredible rare bourbon utilizing methods which coax out flavors no one ever imagined possible. I don't like that kind of hyperbole, but that's okay. It's as much a marketing ploy as it is a press release. I've always looked for new and innovative ways to consider flavors, changing the roasting process for coffee beans, restaging ingredients of making beer, restructuring the cooking process for the mash and bourbon, and then altering the char in the barrel to change the chemistry of the juice are ways to challenge what we can imagine possible. Okay. So here you go. Here's some juicy bits. Distilled at New Riff. The whiskey entered the barrels at 110 proof. So that's a low entry proof for anybody keeping track. 125 is standard. The 2 barrels of this single barrel Safi bourbon were aged at New Riff for 6 years. Safi kept the barrels in storage for an additional 2 before moving them to Left Bank Spirits in Louisville. The whiskey matured to 122 proof and was bottled at 112, so they proofed it down. Retailing at $300. Each Safi bourbon will be a once-in-a-lifetime marker of distinction for whiskey collectors. Those aficionados of Safi will have early access to subsequent releases. So let me just say this real quick. $300 whiskey should not be proofed down to 122. I haven't tasted this yet, but I'm just, like, on paper, no one's heard of this stuff. This whiskey does exist on the market in one other place, which is also fairly unknown, although it needs to be more known, which is Limestone Farms, private stock. We'll talk about that in a second, too. But this should be bottled to cask strength at this price point. Sorry. Let's keep going. Originally, the mash bill was intended to be a wheat beer. Safi always wanted to test his inner curiosity, thought the recipe featuring honey roasted malt. So if you guys know the rabbit hole, and they're going to say this in a second, if you know the rabbit hole mash bill of their 4-grain, it contains distiller's malt, distiller's malt, honey wheat, honey malt, and corn. 70-10-10-10, I believe. So 8 years later, the test is ready for the whiskey world. Safi's uncompromising search for the perfect blend ingredients and process led him to create industry resetting recipes for bourbon as one of the co-founders of Rabbit Hole, which is the whole deal. Is like those New Riff barrels were distilled with that Rabbit Hole mash bill that Rabbit Hole's using now. Okay, and then they talk about Safi being a super taster. They use the wrong palate again. It just kind of bothers me, but that's okay. I'm not trying to be a turd. It's just that, like, from a consumer perspective, let me put this off here. So from a consumer perspective, not a reviewer perspective, I look at this bottle. The website is like kind of put together. There's no Instagram presence, no real social media presence to speak of. And maybe they just haven't like done a big launch yet. And maybe that's the case. But I read a press release that's got typos in it. It's clear that they tell you they proofed the whiskey down, which I think is kind of an odd move in the press release, and it's $300 a bottle. Like my initial reaction is I'm not buying this whiskey, right? Just as a consumer, but as a reviewer, I'm very curious about this whiskey. So I wanted to pick these up and bite the bullet. So we're going to get into these now. Yeah, exactly. Who's going to buy this at $300 with little marketing or feedback pass from me? Okay. So that same mash bill, and I don't think I'm breaking any rules by saying this because it's out on podcasts now and people have talked about it. At least one of these, if these are, I don't know if these are the same mash bill, these 2 single barrels that are released. They probably are, but I don't know if they are. But at least one of them is the same thing as the Limestone Farms private stock, okay? I'll compare these to the Limestone Farms private stock in a second, once I go through these. This Limestone private stock blend is 115 proof. They vary, and I think they are proofed down just a smidge, but it's also not $300. It's under $200. Still expensive, but, you know, a little more leeway there for me as a consumer looking at that. 115 proof, and this is the 70-10-10-10 mash bill. The same barrels. Okay, that these, or at least one of these are. On the website, one of these single barrels on the Safi website said it was a wheated bourbon, and the other one made no mention of that. So I was like, well, if it's the same mash bill, which has the honey wheat, then they're both wheaters. I don't know if they're the same mash between the 2 single barrels. I've kind of set this up in a negative light, and I didn't actually mean to do that, by the way. I'm excited to taste these today. But I hadn't seen the press release until earlier, and I saw it, and I was like, this is kind of a bummer. because like the foot forward, the first foot forward that they're putting out is, it doesn't scream you should buy this whiskey. So this is 8 years old, by the way. And look, the limestone, this is also 8 years old. I'm telling you, this is unbelievable whiskey. This private stock is an instant buy, and it's $180 on their website. I think with code LF15, you get 15% off or something like that. That's an instant buy. So let's see if these are instant buys at the price. So let's start with barrel 2. And in the meantime, I'm going to put a little bit of the private stock in a glass over here. And just let that get some air. Matt, see you, man. Thanks for hanging tonight. Noel, thank you. All right. I didn't mean to cast that in such a negative light. All right, barrel 2 and 3. I don't know what happened. I don't know if barrel 1 was like kind of a friends and family, or it's already been sold out. I'm not sure. Barrel 1 is very, very ripe fruit. Like, I think the primary fruit in here is like, it's like a combination of like apricots and like nectarines. Super, super fresh. Now, when you talk about fresh fruit notes, often that leads people to believe that it's kind of a youngish tasting whiskey. Like bright fruits and fresh fruits might scream youth. This does not come off young even a little bit. It's developed. It's full-bodied. It really reminds me of eating a peach. Yeah, we'll move on. Yeah, it's just syrupy and fruity. Very good. Very, very good. Wow. Man, that's good whiskey. So that's the thing. It's like, even at the price point, and like kind of criticizing the press release and the proofing down, that's outstanding whiskey. And I'm glad. I'm glad it's not. It's only 8 years old, but this particular mash bill and these barrels, as was my experience with the Limestone Farms private stock, there's something about these that's different than anything else in the market. There's just nothing like this at 8 years old on the market. This is almost Buffalo Tracy. This almost tastes like what was it? Spiritus Fermenti, which was in the Buffalo Trace pre-Prohibition collection. That 5-bottle set that it's like $1,000 retail or something for the half bottles. The Spiritus Fermenti is I believe 110 proof wheated bourbon. So it's basically like a Weller 107 with a little more proof, and I don't know the age on it. It tasted old. This reminds me of that Spiritus Fermenti bottle. Drinks like a weeder. It totally drinks like a weeder. I mean, this is really good whiskey. The palate is super cohesive and put together. But I think some people buying $300 bottle might consider this profile to be just a little too lifted and bright and fresh. And when they spend this much money, they might want something oakier and darker. But I will say, from a balance perspective, this is pretty much spot on. Is it worth $300? I don't know about that. But let's go into the second barrel here, which is actually barrel 3. Let's taste this one next and see if it, how it compares. Night, Jason. Thanks, man. All right, so let's go to barrel 3. Now, color on this barrel. Is this darker? It looks darker. Oh, yeah. Significantly darker on this second barrel. Wow. All right, let's go into this now. Okay. It's basically, you take the same profile of the barrel 2 and make everything 3 times darker. So all of the fresh nectarine and like peach and like apricot-y kind of notes that I was getting out of this, they're now much, much darker. This is like syrupy, totally reduced fruit notes, almost a little bittersweet. And it's like very plummy, I would say. And it smells really, really good. So much leather on this. So that's pretty remarkable. A little dry, though. My one critique of this whiskey, even when it first touches your tongue, it's dry, and it's dry the whole way through. Maybe the decision to proof it down is based on the tannins and trying to soften them up a little bit. I'm not sure. Let's add a little water. All right. Look, guys, these are $300 bottles. I think you can do worse for $300. I think these are very good. I'm going to compare it to the Limestone Farms, which is 2/3 the price, even less actually, with the discount and all that kind of stuff, and just see how that stacks up to these. A little water actually helped it. Not quite as dry. It still is dry, but it's not like abrasive on the palate. All right. I can't do a final conclusion on this one yet until we put it next to the Limestone Farms. Joe says Cam is cut off. Why? Why am I cut off? Am I slurring my words? What am I doing? I feel okay, Joe. What's going on? Lynn, $300 for an unknown watered-down first-generation whiskey from someone not known in whiskey circles. Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of expensive whiskeys, sourced whiskeys on the market, but he did distill these barrels at New Riff. So it's not the case of like someone buying something that's commonly found on the market and marking it up. It truly is a one-of-a-kind type barrel. I have more understanding for a more expensive price on something that is truly differentiated in the market. However, $300 is astronomically expensive for your first release. And I get that like the Old Carters of the world and the Foregates of the world have consistently high price points. And as we all saw on Facebook with the sale of Old Carter, the margins, it was like 80% margins. The profit margins of Old Carter were ridiculous. So that model can happen. It can exist. As a whiskey enthusiast, I don't love that because it's just so expensive. I'm not recommending 8-year-old $300 whiskey. I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying you could do a lot worse, and I'm going to put this limestone next to it now, which is also remarkably dark. Even darker than the darkest Safi barrel. And it is 3 proof points higher. Wow. And these Limestone Farms private stocks are not single barrels. These are all blends. And there have been a few different proof points now. Damn. The Limestone Farms, you can tell it's the same whiskey, especially as barrel 3 in particular of the Safi. It's even more intensely just leather, like leathery oak. Even more intense versions of that. Chocolatey. And then it's just so much fresh fruit. Fresh purple and black fruit notes. Damn, that is so freaking good. It's juicy. The Safi barrel is more of a slow, steady, slow and steady development on the palate. The limestone has a kick up front, and then it just takes off. A little lull in the mid palate, kind of like Opus One, where you get all this upfront action, and then it kind of slows down for a second and then ramps up into the finish. So here's the thing, like, the Safi is good at 300. The same whiskey is in this private stock. It's blended, and it's at a higher proof. And it's $120 cheaper. Buy this. And this is not just like, well, if you're gonna buy something, buy this. Like if you're gonna spend $180, buy this. Now my recommendation is like, this whiskey is so good. This limestone private stock, the price has dropped. You get 15% off, I think, on their website, whatever website they use. That code. I think it's LF15 is the code. And I promise they're not sponsoring this. I'm not being paid to say this. But this proof point, 115, is like perfect for this stuff. The 112 on these is a little light. But it's hard to recommend a $300 8-year whiskey, number one. And then number two, when you have an option like this, that the profile is a little less singular because it's not a single barrel, a little more variance in the profile, but it drinks even better. That's freaking delicious whiskey. I think it is special whiskey. And it's only 8 years old, which is going to make people kind of concerned. That should not concern you. The Limestone Farms, where can you find it? I don't know. Let me see if I can find the order website. They have their own online store, I believe. So, yeah, let's see here. Shop LF Premium Bourbons. So it's, I think they ship to like a lot of states. So it's limestonefarms.getliquidrails.com. And let's see the price on here. Of the private stock is $190, but I think let me check the discount code to make sure it works. Enter discount code. And I think, let's see, let's see if LF15 works. Oh yeah, it worked. So with shipping and tax, it's $196. So it's not cheap. But if you're in the market for, a kind of a special occasion bottle, I think that would be the one. Yeah. Man, I'm telling you, this 115 proof is even better than the other one. I've got a 113.2 open behind me as well. This, I think, beats that. And it definitely beats the Safis. I'm not mad that I bought the Safis, but I just think they should bring their prices. They should bring them down to what the private stock is. I think they should be around 200 or so to be competitive, because it's going to be a tough sell on these bottles. But I think these barrels to me are so exciting. So anyways, there you go. Let's do two more things, guys. I'm going to catch up on some more super chats here. And I've got two more events on tonight's live stream, if that's what you want to call them. Remember, just a reminder, if anybody's interested in the hard truth that I tasted earlier, the link is in the description of this video to pick one up. I'm not sure if any have sold on this live stream or not. I think some other people earlier were mentioning they picked one up. But if you like caramel apple notes, if you like... Excuse me, good Lord. I had Chick-fil-A earlier on the way home from River Roots. Not agreeing with me tonight. If you like caramel apple notes, if you like kind of a little bit of a cola note / sort of root beer with a lot of fresh kind of orchard fruit, summery fruit type vibes, little vanilla in there as well. The Hard Truth Sweet Mash Rye pick that we did, we've got... I think probably 30 or so bottles left in that link in the description. So check that out. Thank you, Tito. Thanks for hanging out. And now we've got to do Let's just keep building the infinity glass. I guess I actually didn't need to do that. I've got 2 fresh glasses over there for this upcoming blind, but that's okay. So a quick blind from Jesse, and then we'll do the 13th Colony Double Oaked, which took 2.5 hours to get to, but it's a great nightcap. Something at that high of proof. It's going to be a good nightcap. In the meantime, while I get these poured, we've got sample 30A. Oh, yeah, 30A and 30B. I will try to show you guys. Jesse, are you guys going to be able to read the reveal card if I show it? Or should I just wait to the end to reveal? I'm asking Jesse because I don't know how big he wrote on the reveal card. Rich says, I'm in for the hard truth with the Opus and Evernorth drop. Thanks. Thanks, Rich. Yeah, it's going to still be around when that drops on November 8th. But that's the last day. And then whatever's left, I have to buy out, which is fine. Because I think once people get these and they start tasting them, I think they're probably going to want to back up. But okay, we'll just do the reveal at the end then. That's fine. All right, so let's let these get some airtime real quick. All right, Mr. Art Sanchez, let me get your super chats in here. In for 5 with a little gas emoji, gas station. Thank you, Art. Jesse says the William Heaven Hill Fund. I don't need that fund. Although, thank you. But no William Heaven Hill for me, unless it's one of the older ones. I need to try some of the older versions. Josh Snyder, thank you for the $10 super chat. Now we've got Guy with some heat with a $50 super chat. 10 entries. Says, cheers, Cam. The Hard Truth and Green River picks are both really good. Enjoying them tonight. Thank you, man. The Green River pick, I'm so curious to see how it tastes after, 2 more months in the barrel and after being dumped. I'm interested because, like, even the sample I brought home, this is what often happens when we do picks. I go and we do the pick. I'm really excited. After we leave, I have a sample with me. Sometimes it's like 1 ounce. Sometimes it's half a bottle. Like the Hard Truth, I had like half a bottle. And I start to get nervous. And I'm like, oh, did we actually make a good decision on this pick? Then I'll come home and I'll taste it. And even after I taste it, I'm still like, am I just imagining that this is good? And I think it's like a healthy skepticism, but it can kind of eat away at me a little bit. And that Green River pick, I thought I was full of it. And then I got home and I tasted it, and I'm like, this really does taste like a barrel-proof Old Fitz profile. And all the other barrels that we tasted were more on brand. Like some of the samples that other folks have sent me, the Cox's Evergreen pick, I think the Prime Barrel or maybe our Bourbon picks or something. Those profiles are familiar to me from when we did our pick and when I did the pick with Sealbox for their barrel also. But the one that we got, that profile was not familiar to me from Green River. So I kept coming back to it to the point that I drank all of my sample and now I have none left. I thought it was really good, but when I get my bottle, I guess I'm going to find out. Yeah, we'll see. Okay. Joe W. is in for 5. Thank you, man. Says cheers. Toshi Baker with some serious heat here. 20 entries. $100 super chat. Just throwing in a couple of whiskey emojis. Thank you, Toshi. Cheers, man. I believe this is the private stock. Oh, yeah. That's good. All right. Kyle Farr in for 4. Thank you, Kyle. Says, super chat, cheers, keep up the great content. Thank you, man. And this is insane. So Clay, which is just good old me, with 24 entries. $120 super chat. Early morning tomorrow, so probably Won't last the full stream tonight. As always, loving the content. Thank you, Clay. I don't know what to say, man. Thanks, guys. Let me do one more here before we get back to the action, if that's what you want to call it. Adam Ferris, thanks for the $10 super chat. 2 entries. I got you. Cheers. Okay. I am trying to catch up here. Axel, we might end up doing I'm hoping, fingers crossed, for a collaboration with Limestone Farms to do a blend of the private stock. I'm really, really hopeful, but we haven't finalized anything, so I don't want to speak too soon, but just letting you know that that's in the universe. Bobby, thank you, man. Got you in for 2. Can't wait for the hard truth pick to arrive. Let's get some luck for the Opus One. Cheers. Thanks, dude. Whatever happened with the Irish pick, it's still good to go. It's just going to drop on November 29th. I think that's a Friday. And make sure that's right. November 29th. Yep. That should be the backbone drop. I'm super excited for that Irish whiskey, for everybody to get that. Ben says, keep up the great picks. Thanks, man. Gosh, I can't even keep up, guys. Thanks for the super chats. Alrighty. Let's do a blind real quick from Jesse. This is 30A and 30B. I'm not gonna get my notebook out and everything. I'll just take a few notes on my phone, but it's just 2 pours. So let's start with 30A. And I wish I could show you the cards ahead of time, but that's okay. I think I just lost my trackpad there. Connection. All right, glass 30A smells a little bit like a rye. Come on now. Yeah. Sometimes my trackpad just likes to disconnect. Okay. We can do this, trackpad. I know we can do this. Yeah, glass 1, I would have to say off the nose this is a rye. There's a lot of lemon lime. Solid proof, 118 to 124 is the range I'm in. When I get these lemon lime ryes, sometimes I think craft, sometimes I think, like, honestly, Willet, like MGP sourced with more of a citrus note, and some of the Willets can have that. Dude, come on, trackpad. You got this. But I think that's got to be a rye. A little bit of an oatmeal note, too. All right, on to glass 30B. It's a little funkier, 30B. What's this sounds so sponsored. You don't even like it, says Max. What are you talking about, Max? Mike and Nova says, just order the Limestone Private after jumping in here and hearing your review. Mike, I don't think you'll be disappointed, man. I know it's expensive. And again, like, I'm not encouraging anybody who doesn't normally spend that much money on whiskey to buy that bottle. But if you are in that realm, I think, I am curious what Max means about sounding sponsored, what he's referring to. Never have been sponsored by a distillery and never will be, actually. I don't do that. Oh. Yeah, maybe I should turn it on. Yeah, that'll help. All right, so again, on to glass B here. Glass B has a little bit of like a hay note to it. Dude, glass B kind of smells like broccoli. Smells like vegetables. It's odd. Okay, 30A. go back to this. That's interesting. Tastes like grape soda, kind of. Very effervescent. Tracks with the rye that I thought it was. Proof feels a little lower maybe than I was expecting. Oh, it's actually really good. This could be craft. If this is craft, I actually really like this quite a bit. Rarebird, what's up, man? LLME in the glass right now. Which one? ME20? I haven't had 17 yet, but I'm hoping to figure that out. Oh, Toshi, Cam, take a look at my message above if you have a chance. Oh, let me see, man. Okay. Oh, Toshi. Oh, man. Oh, man. Bro. I mean, listen, man. What does $6,000 mean to you? That's the question, bro. And if you pull the trigger on that, can I fly out and drink it with you? The thing is, Toshi, like about the Weller Millennium, I'm not pondering this hard over UFC, but about the Weller Millennium, I think if you're going to spend 6 G's on whiskey, and you're down for that, you know that's going to happen, you could probably find some absolutely absurd Dusty or 2 to cover that ground. Now, the thing is, like, most people, I think, when you spend that much money on whiskey, let's say you do 1 bottle for that or 2 bottles at $3 each. Let's say you're going to go for the highest proof, most like high octane, rip your face off, oaky, high age statement type thing. And that would be probably my natural move as well. So you're going to get like a Michter's 20, or you're going to get like one of those old William Heavenhill 15 years. It's hazmat, or you're going to get a couple cheesy gold foils or something, which that's not high octane, but that's just impressive whiskey. But none of those cover the profile of the Weller Millennium, which is that super, like, incredibly sweet. It's just like the perfect Buffalo Trace profile. My question would be, if you're going to spend that money, could you get something like, I think green glass Pappies are way more expensive, like 10 grand or something. But could you find a Dusty Buffalo Trace product that's a Pappy or something else that's actually going to be even better than the Weller Millennium? Like, I can tell you that the Weller Millennium is outstandingly good bourbon or whiskey, because it's wheat whiskey in there too. And I don't have a lot of experience with other Dusty Buffalo Trace products that are that profile, that aren't the 09 George T. Stagg. I would just say buy 3 of those. But if you want that sweeter, more easygoing, delicate, perfect profile, I don't know what else you can get that's going to be better than the Millennium. This is totally excluding price. So, I don't know, man. I mean, that's, I think wait, because I don't think they're all going to sell. You know what I mean? Like, I think they're going to sit on the shelf, and people are going to keep dropping their prices, probably. And then I'm going to go with Ilya this weekend. I think Max will give him a hard fight. I think it could go to a decision, and I think Ilya could win the decision. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyways, guys, sorry to talk about freaking Weller Millennium. Yeah, System Trend. No way in hell any liquid consumable on this earth is worth $6K. I am not disagreeing with you, but we all have different situations. And I can say that Weller Millennium is outstandingly good whiskey, especially for the style that it is. It's just like, it's crazy. But it's absolutely a luxury good. All right, let's go on to... Jesse, the grape soda, the grape note in Glass A smells like a Moscatel finish. Tastes like it too. Maybe like a cognac or something, but really has that Moscatel feel. All right, 30B. 30B is a little less offensive than it was a second ago when I said it smelled like hay and broccoli. I actually kind of like both of these. All right, let me make a few guesses here. I'm all confused now on these two blinds, and I know we got to get it moving here so I can get to this final pour of the night, this 13th Colony Double Oaked, and round out the giveaway. So Glass A and Glass B. I'm going to say A. I thought this was a rye. I got to stick with my first impression on these. It seems like a very specific guess to say that this is a Moscatel finish. It could be some sort of brandy finish as well, but I'm going to say it's a finished rye. My proofometer is all over the place now. Toshi says, great thoughts. Thanks, man. I was debating the Weller Millennium for 6. We're better to get an M25 for the same price. Yeah, the Millennium is... It's just it's such a different profile. I mean, just imagine, like... What would compare it to Weller Millennium profile-wise? It's just like the best... I've never had Dusty Pappy, so I can't speak to it. Like the Stitzel stuff. And just imagine the best Pappy you could ever have in your life. It's basically that profile taken to the 100th percentile. So next to like a Michter's 20 or a Michter's 25, it's probably going to fall flat. But if you're not drinking it next to that, then it's a different story. It's a badass presentation. I will say that. I know Toshi got a ride with Max. I know. I look, dude, I didn't think Ilya was going to beat Volkanovski, but he did. God. I was so sad when he knocked out Volk, dude. Finished rye. 104 proof. Glass A. 7 years old. Very good. Glass B again. Let's make a few guesses. Glass B is just more grainy on the nose. Ooh, there's all that weirdness. 118 proof. Bourbon question mark. Craft. It actually drinks really nicely though. It doesn't drink super young. Oh, but that freaking broccoli note. I'm going to say it's 6 years old, and it's drinking deceptively good, is what I'm going to say. All right, I don't think it's finished. Let's do the reveal now. All right, Jesse, what? Here, let me find, I don't think I have a knife in here. What? Okay, this... Interesting. All right. So, I'm not far off here. Glass A is Midwinter Night's Dram, Act 7, Scene 3. So, a little bit of an older version of this. And I said it smelled like a Moscatel finish, and then I said maybe it's some sort of brandy. I actually would not have guessed port because it's so fresh feeling. This is maybe my favorite midwinters that I've had, actually. I've had Act 2, and I didn't like it. I have an Act, I think it's a 9 back there, which is okay. But this Act 7 is very good. And then the other one is Smooth Ambler Old Scout Port Cask Finish Rye. So I really wouldn't have guessed this. Now, Jesse, is the Smooth Ambler, is it their own distillate? Because it's got this craftiness to it that I don't recognize. It's sourced. I can smell it now, but I did not. I wouldn't have. Like, now that I'm cued into thinking that it's MGP, that is so strange. I really don't like that one as much. I like the Midwinters quite a bit more. And my proofs were all high. I said 104. It's 98.6 on the Midwinters, and I said 118 because the Smooth Ambler drinks significantly hotter than the Midwinters, in my opinion. And I thought it was a bourbon. So weird. 6 years old, I said craft, but it's really, really not. It's really MGP. The finish, I think, is throwing me off on Glass B. But I got Glass A, finished rye. I said 7 years old. Who knows how old it is? So, all right. Moral of the story is I really like that Midwinters. What do you think, Jesse? Sam says, hey, Cam, sipping on some of the Green River single barrel pick. This is phenomenal. Berry compote, glazed donut, caramely brown butter. I'm glad you like it, man. I really like that pick, and I'm nervous to get the bottle because I hope it's as good as I remember. Okay, last pour of the night. Oh, there's still a fresh glass over here. Yeah. This table is a mess. Let us move on now. To the 13th Colony Double Oaked 2024. This is I haven't had any of this yet. Nothing has been poured out of this bottle. So naturally, it's going to need a little bit of airtime. You know, it's very dark. But I feel like it's not as dark as years past. Yeah, it's kind of a different look. Because, you know, we always marvel at how dark these are. Huh. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. Maybe it's even darker, actually. It's more red. I think this year's is definitely more red. You know, I'm going to go ahead and leave out this bottle, and I'll do a side-by-side of this year's and last year's. Last year's obviously having gotten a lot of air and being a higher proof, I think. So maybe that counteracts it a bit, but let's see. So if you've been around the channel since, let's say, last January, when, you know, all the conspiracies took over Whiskey Tube, no thanks to me in some, you know, significant way because of the laser code stuff. If you've been around for a while, we were talking back last January about not only the C923 laser codes, we were talking about the Michter's 2023 A barrels. We were also talking at the same time about 13th Colony. I said some things about 13th Colony, speculated maybe a little too much. Never really... there were some other folks that really, really suggested that they used additives to their whiskey. While I think things are kind of strange in some cases, I wouldn't go so far as to say that, but it did feel like staves were being used on a lot of things that maybe were not disclosing it. And that was just like from a sensory standpoint, evaluating some of the stuff. And we know that they use maple staves in this double oaked, and we know that they French oaked their rye, which they started to be more transparent about. And then some of the bourbon picks that started to appear, specifically one on Sealbox from earlier in 2024, actually listed that the bourbon pick was French oak staved as well. So I thought that was good to see additional transparency coming out of 13th Colony on that regard. And a lot of people had problems because some articles went around about their sourcing and basically feeling like they were sourcing stuff and not disclosing it. And that ended up being true, right? Like, their labels did not disclose their source, and they should have. And now we started seeing more TTB filings roll through, and you started to see that Indiana was listed as a source, which I think many people suspected already, which would likely mean MGP is a source, but who knows? So it felt to me like the public pressure and people talking about it, whether talking accurately or speculating too much in both cases, I was guilty of both of those things, right? Accurate and over-speculating. I would say that public pressure, just kind of from all ends, from the bloggers and the people on Instagram and this and that, probably coalesced into 13th Colony getting the picture, getting the memo, and changing some things behind the scenes and updating their labels, which, they could have updated over the last 10 years because there have been complaints about that on forum posts that were a decade old or so. So that's kind of like the timeline for me with all the 13th Colony stuff, right? And I do regret some of the stuff I said about it. But at the same time, some of that stuff was correct. And it's like, at what cost do you say these things for only some of what you say and speculate on to be correct? That's something I think we all wrestle with, being online and saying things into the public, sphere. And it's just a different experience, and you have to kind of watch more what you say. So today, I'm not here to speculate about what may or may not be going on with their whiskey. I'm just going to drink this stuff. And frankly, their double oaked from last year and the Junkies pick from last year, outrageously good whiskey. So, and I've never said that it's not. I will always stand by the fact that it's really good whiskey. So let's start now by kind of taking a look at the labels here. Rare Bird, I'm not congratulating half transparency. I hope that's not the message I'm sending, but I'm glad they finally did something. But to me, the solution to all of this would be that somebody from their brand comes out and addresses something publicly. But nothing like that ever happened. But I wanted to taste the whiskey this year, the 2024. But what I was actually most curious about, with this whiskey is how they've labeled it. Because last year is when all the labeling controversy really got kind of, heated up. I'm trying to see if there's any differences. These are exactly the same on this side. And with the double oak, they use maple wood to finish this. I don't know if it's staves or in what format, but they say that they use maple in these. And if you use maple, you cannot call the product bourbon unless you call it bourbon whiskey finished with maple staves. You have to identify it as such. Basically, the maple has to be talked about on the label, and it was not on last year's. I had a problem with that, not because they say it on their website, so why not put it on your label? They changed their other labels for some other stuff. So I was curious this year, besides just drinking the whiskey, if they had updated the labels to reflect the fact that they're using maple wood. Because you can't, it says double oaked bourbon whiskey. It doesn't say straight, but that doesn't matter because bourbon must be oak. It cannot be maple. So it still says produced and bottled. There's no distillation on here. So it's either theirs or from another Georgia distillery, as per the TTB. And there's no reference to maple on this. So that's a ding for me because this needs to be identified on the label. But again, I'm not here to I'll criticize that because that's a hard and fast fact about this bottle that needs to be put on the label. And I don't know why they didn't update that. Smells very good. Remember, last year's has had plenty of airtime, so it's going to have rounded out quite a bit. And it's been in this bottle at a very low fill level. This year's, wow. Significantly more abrasive on the nose in the sense that I'm actually picking up on whiskey grain notes on the nose. Like there's a textural grain component to the nose of the 2024, whereas the 2023, again, with all this airtime, feels super round. And there's no, it's almost like you're not even smelling a whiskey. You're just smelling delicious liquid in a glass. You know what I mean? And I don't say that as like a subtle suggestion or dig. I mean in the sense that it's very integrated on the 2023. 2024, I'm sensing grain notes in here. There's like an oatmeal cookie. There's a corniness to it. But at the same time, you do get that really rich, intense, like maple, bacon, savory component to this. All right. Smells like breakfast. Look, that's going to be a large subset of enthusiasts, whiskey of the year. Absolutely. It's delicious. It's a little over oaked for me this year. Like, I thought last year was intense. Let me take a sip of last year's. I like last year's better. There's more fruit. There's dark fruit notes that are clear. This year, it's a fresh crack. It probably needs some more air. This is about as much oak as I think I've ever smelled and tasted in a whiskey ever in my life. Well, I say oak, but I mean oak and maple in this case. Very good. It's verging on rubber on the palate and overly savory. So 23 I like better. This one, it just seems kind of a little overcooked for me. But, you know, it's still this is gonna be a whiskey that a lot of people like and a lot of people hunt down. I think the secondary prices are $750-ish. Totally not worth that. But last year's, I could see paying a significant upcharge for last year's. I really like that bottle. This one it just feels younger to me. It feels more thrown together and a little younger and kind of more all over the place, whereas last year's felt like a cohesive package. Yeah, last year's, it's got that heavy root beer. It's great. All right. Well, like at SRP, if you have tried this bottle, yeah, buy it at SRP, you know? I just don't see paying up for this bottle. And I just don't like that the label, just from an enthusiast perspective, from somebody that wants transparency, that does barrel picks with, like now after the last 6 months doing barrel picks and seeing how easy it is to be transparent when you don't have an NDA in place, to just update a TTB label on a whim. Even if you've already printed other labels, you might have to eat that cost to update your label. You know, you might just have to do that. To update a label, to be transparent, assuming no NDAs, I don't think it's rocket science and I don't think it's out of place to complain about this not saying on the label that there's maple being used. So you updated some labels, but not all of them. I don't know. How's the Double Oak compare to 15th? It's not close. Double Oak beats the crap out of 15th. I actually did not like the 15th. I just thought it was not very good. It just tasted young. I don't have mine anymore, but Double Oaked all the way. When I talked to Brian, the warehouse manager, he said the special bourbons were distilled in Americus. The regular bourbons were sourced with MGP. That's interesting. I mean, you know, it's hard to believe that. It's hard to believe that unless they put on the label distilled by 13th Colony. If they put that on the label, I'll believe them. But they still haven't put that on the label. It just says produced and bottled. So if they put distilled on here, I'll stop asking questions about that. Yeah, 15th was not good. And then Parker says, is anything they made besides the double oaked worth buying? A lot of the picks are good, and then I've also had some really not good ones. So the picks are hit or miss. I think the most reliable picks you're going to get are the high-proof French oak staved ryes, because the French oak staving will kind of not even it out, but it's predictable in a sense. Like, you know that you're going to get a heavy French oak stave influence, and it's going to cover up some of the flaws of the underlying rye. All right. Cool. So let me get the rest of these super chats, guys. Joe, I can neither confirm nor deny. So we're cut off now on the old super chats. Which has been another 3-hour stream brought to you by Drums and Drams. Okay, let me check PayPal to see if I've caught up with that. Oh, I think I've missed one, actually. Yep, someone came in from Daniel V. So let me catch this super chat. In for one, says Cam. Thank you for bringing us some stellar picks this year. Looking forward to the Opus One. Thanks, man. Okay. Let's get back. Let's catch up all the way now on these Venmos. Terry Powers, man. Tony, I always got a big maple note on the standard 13th offering. Makes total sense. Well, they don't say that they use maple wood in their standard offering. So I think the standard offering is just a blend of, I guess, probably MGP. If I think it's MGP, but I don't know. It's hard when the labels are this inconsistent. It's hard to know what's actually the case. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to take them at their word now. But their word of the double oaked would mean that this is either distilled by them or another Georgia distillery because of the language they use. I just wish if it was entirely distilled by them that they would put distilled by on the label. Exactly. Yeah. So Rare Bird's asking the good questions here. Yes. I am with you, man. I am with you. Okay. Let me just scroll up a bit and confirm that the last super chat is one that I snagged. Ben and Bobby. Yep, got him. Okay. Let me grab the last of these now. So we got Adam Ferris. And now we are on to Will Molnar. Will, with a freaking 20-entry super chat. $100 super chat. Thanks for never... Sam, I don't know if you're still here. Thanks for never getting my address wrong on a package, says Will. Brian Schuba. Thanks, man. In for 2. Says Opus apropos. Nice. I almost said that so incorrectly. Although when I say apropos, I still don't like to say that word. I don't know. It just looks so ridiculous. Dan H. Thank you for the super chat, man. Got you in for 6 entries. Michael Schneider. In for 3. Thanks, man. Says, here's for better internet. That was that one. Oh, Sam, that's funny, man. Will is grilling you in my Venmo. Nick Leone with 2 entries says OGD 114 I could see as a Dusty. I could see that. You know, just over the years, that would just maintain Dusty status, essentially. You can see how old these Super Chats are now, guys. We're talking about the Dusty question from 2 hours ago. Lawrence Chang, in for 2, says, enjoy all of your content so much, and I'm stoked for the double dose of live streams, but health and wellness above all else. Yeah, I agree, man. Hashtag Team Vanilla. Always hashtag Team Vanilla. Thanks, Lawrence. Jason Zell. Oh, my gosh. Okay. Jason is in for a $100 Super Chat. 20 entries. Says, cheers, brother. Thank you, man. Luis is in for 1 entry with a little turkey emoji. Thank you. Ben Arrington. 2 ticket entries. Love the channel. Thanks, Ben. Cheers to you guys so far. I'm going to get through these as fast as I can. Another sip of this new Double Oak 13 Colony. This is starting to taste a little crafty, actually. Interesting. Like, not even necessarily in a bad way. It's just, it almost has that, like, Detling chocolate note to it. Mm-hmm. All right. All right, Chris Miller, in for 2, says Opus One. Thank you, Chris. Another Chris, Christopher Lau, with 1 entry, says Opus One. There we go. Back-to-back Chris is saying Opus One. That's a little coincidental. Clay Monroe with another 3 entries. What the heck? Here's 3 more entries. Thank you, Clay. We're getting close to the end here, guys. Easton Oliver, in for 2 with what did Easton say? Also said Opus One. There we go. You know what? Yeah, let's see here. Once we get to the end, we'll see. All right, William Hines, my man. Mr. Hines, in for 20 with a period. All right, I think we got 2 more. Scotty, jumping back in for 2 more entries. And Brett is in for 5, says, what's up, dude? Got you on in the background tonight. Okay, I think we are caught up. I think we are fully caught up. Let me see what we've got here. Jeez Louise. All right. We'll add a 3rd bottle tonight. So we'll do 3 winners tonight. Yeah. I've got a 3rd bottle. I don't have it in the room with me. We'll do 3 winners of the Opus One tonight. And that 3rd person, everybody will get a sample of this new 13th Colony Double Oaked. So that's what we'll do. Because there's a whole hell of a lot of Super Chat entries tonight, guys. So I actually really didn't expect that, because I thought giving away one of our picks, you know, would not be this crazy. But this is pretty freaking crazy. So thank you. It's pretty wild, actually. So thanks, guys. So let's share my screen now. Here's what we're gonna do. If I made any mistakes, please, if you're here right now, call me out on the mistakes. If you're not here and you catch it on the replay, let me know. Send me an email, drumsanddrams@gmail.com, or DM me on Instagram, whatever, and we will make it right by giving you extra entries into whatever the next giveaway will be. I hope I didn't make any mistakes, so that's why we're doing this right now. I'm sharing my screen. You can check. So we'll have to do this in rounds because we have a lot of entries. So Steven down to Greg. Then it'll be Greg down to Justin or Brandice, and then basically Leo down to Lawrence. Oh my gosh, and then Lawrence on out. So let me shrink this down to like 115%. So the deal is, many of you know this already, but your name's on the left, your number of entries is on the right. That is your dollar amount divided by 5. So Steven, Mr. Parker, entered with a $10 super chat. 10 divided by 5 is 2 entries. His name auto-populates twice over here. We'll end up copying from this column into the randomizer, which we'll spend 7 times. So anyways, check your entries. If you entered more than once, your name will appear 2 different times. So if Jason entered for $10 here, which is 2 entries, and let's say he entered down here. Let's say this was him with 4 entries. That'll be 2 separate entries, a $20 and a $10 super chat. So if you see only one entry and you're like, why are my entries not right? Well, they don't combine. They are separate if you put in 2 separate super chats. So, sorry about that. Please let me know if you see any mistakes from Steven down to Parker, and then we'll do the next round. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging tonight. We've had a this might be the biggest turnout ever on a live stream, and as far as like consistent large numbers in the audience. And for those of you who picked up the Hard Truth pick that went public, I want to say thank you to you guys as well. I haven't checked how many of those have sold, or if any, but I think a few did because people mentioned it in the live chat. But thanks if you picked that up. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Look forward to hearing everybody's feedback on that. All right, I haven't heard any issues, so let's go now. Let's scroll down from Parker. So it's basically going to be from Chris down to Rich. Check your entries, please. Take about a minute. Yeah, Jeremy says, congrats to the winners in advance. Absolutely. So 3 winners tonight. 3 bottles of Opus One, and everybody getting a sample of 13th Colony Double Oak. Jeremy, when does Matt Porter finally join the stream? I've been waiting a while. I'll join his tomorrow. All right, no issues. Let's go now from Art, which had 5 entries. There we go. Art with 5, down to Easton Oliver down there with 2 entries. Please check those. All right, I think I handled the 13th Colony stuff tonight well. I think I talked about it in a way that I feel comfortable the way I talked about it. I don't think I overextended. And, speculating, I'm gonna shy away from that a little bit more and just try to stick to what is clear and obvious. And the obvious error at this point with this bottle would just be the labeling with, not mentioning the maple. But, at least to my understanding of the TTB is that that's the case. And then, I think we've seen some added transparency over the last 9 months. But still would like to know a little bit more. Okay. And finally, let's go from Easton. Oh, just a few more left. So Easton, Mr. Hines, Scott, and Brett. I know they're good. So here we go. Oh my gosh. 341 entries. All right. Okay. Nope. There we go. We're going to paste everybody in. From Steven down to Brett 7 times. Top 3 winners, no duplicates. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and here's the final spin. Thank you, guys. There we go. So 2 different Jasons, and Brandy's for her husband, actually. So, congratulations, and if you all won, please email me, drumsanddrams@gmail.com. And let me know that you won, and in particular, send me your address, please. And I will get these mailed out, or not mailed out. We'll just hand deliver these tomorrow. So congrats, everybody. And listen, thank you guys for the support tonight. I really didn't expect this level of support this evening. And I didn't want to do a giveaway tonight because the 10K celebration was so insane, the last stream. But picking up these Opus bottles today, I was like, you know what? It would be cool to get these in people's hands ahead of the release, get some feedback, whether it's good or bad. I hope everybody is honest that wins these bottles. if they you know, post in the Discord or send me an email and talk about them. But I'd love some feedback, and yeah. But I really think it's a good bottle. We wouldn't have picked it if it wasn't. I say we, but I think I picked this one alone, actually. So you can pretty much blame me exclusively if this is not what you want. Now I'm nervous. So fun night tonight. Thank you guys. Hit that like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out those Hard Truth picks if you're looking for a new whiskey, a very sweet but intense rye. And yeah, the Limestone Farms private stock, greater than the Safi barrels, in my opinion. I think that's a great blend. So check that out as well. I don't have that in the description of the video to order, but it's the, if you look up Limestone Farms, it's the Get Liquid Rails page. So go to Limestone Farms, click on the shop tab, and then it takes you to the liquid rails, and then put that code in, which was LF15, because that'll get you 15% off. So that's a solid purchase if you're looking for kind of a luxury bottle. And that's it. So cheers. Thank you guys. Good night. All right. Cheers, guys. Have a good night.